Chapter 1. Eyes that hold the heavens. They had made a terrible mistake. They had freed the world from the infinite Tsukuyomi, but at a price too high to pay. Naruto's body was drained of all energy, his wounds too deep to heal. He knew he was dying, and he didn't want to drag Kurama down with him. Thank you, Kurama. You have been with me since the day I was born. You have suffered so much because of me, but you also taught me so much. You became my friend, my partner, my family. I'm sorry I can't keep you with me any longer. Please, go and join your other half. Be free, be happy. Goodbye, my lifelong companion, Naruto said, as he released the seal that bound Kurama to him. No, no, Kit, Naruto, Kurama cried out, as he felt Naruto's life force fading away. He tried to reach out to him, to hold him, to save him, but it was too late. Naruto was gone. Kakashi and Sakura arrived at the Valley of the End, only to find a scene of horror. Sasuke and Naruto lay on the ground, motionless. Sakura ran to them, hoping to find a sign of life. She saw Sasuke's chest rising and falling, but his eyes were empty and wet. I acknowledged him. Sasuke whispered, barely audible. He defeated me. We canceled the infinite Tsukuyomi, but we used too much chakra. It cost his life. No, Sakura sobbed as she tried to heal Sasuke's wounds. But she knew it was useless. He had lost his will to live. His sky-blue eyes were dull. Kurama emerged from Naruto's body, surrounded by orange chakra bubbles. He looked at the others, his eyes full of sorrow. He looked at his former vessel, his friend, his hero. Dad, Sensei, Obito, Rin, Kushina. Kakashi muttered as he looked at the sky, tears streaming down his face. I failed you. Kakashi, Sasuke called him. He turned to the boy. Naruto's last words were, tell Kakashi-sensei to move on. Don't let him spend the rest of his life grieving. Live long, live well. Kakashi, Kurama said. The man looked at him. Make sure that the Uchiha scum doesn't get punished. That idiot told me to tell you that. Of course he said that. Kakashi smiled sadly as he remembered Naruto's kindness, his courage, his smile. Of course he did. The sun was setting over the Hidden Leaf Village, casting a warm glow over the thousands of people who had gathered to pay their respects to a fallen hero. A hero who had saved the world from the infinite Tsukuyomi, but had sacrificed his life in the process. A hero who had touched the lives of so many, with his unwavering determination, his infectious smile, and his boundless love. A hero who was only 17 years old. His name was Naruto Uzumaki. He lay in a wooden coffin, wrapped in a white cloth, with a red swirl on his chest. His face was peaceful, as if he was sleeping. His blonde hair was ruffled by the gentle breeze. His whisker marks were still visible on his cheeks. He looked like he could wake up any moment and say one of his catchphrases, like "believe it" or "databeo." But he didn't. He was gone. Next to his newly dug grave, there was another grave. It was his mother, Kushina Uzumaki. She had died giving birth to him and had never seen him grow up. She had never hugged him or praised him or scolded him. She had never told him how much she loved him. But she had left him a parting gift, a gift that had stayed with him until the end, a gift that had made him who he was. His name was Kurama. The nine-tailed fox, the most powerful of the tailed beasts, had been sealed inside Naruto since he was a baby. He had been hated and feared by the villagers, who saw him as a monster, a curse, a demon. He had been lonely and angry, and had lashed out at Naruto, who had endured his pain and hatred. He had been used and manipulated by Madara, who had tried to enslave him and the other tailed beasts. He had been freed and befriended by Naruto, who had seen him as a living being, a comrade, a friend. He had fought and bled with Naruto, who had shared his chakra and his will. He had died and mourned with Naruto, who had released him from his seal and thanked him for everything. He was Naruto's lifelong companion. And he was not alone. Behind the coffins, standing in a semicircle, were the other 8 tailed beasts. They had come from all over the world to pay their respects to the boy who had united them, who had spoken to them, who had understood them. They had come to say goodbye to their friend, their brother, their savior. They had come to honor his memory, his legacy, his dream. They were Naruto's family. And they were not the only ones. In front of the coffins, kneeling on the ground, were the people who had known Naruto the best, who had grown up with him, who had fought with him, who had loved him. They were his teammates, his teachers, his rivals, his friends. They were his precious people. And they were crying. It was the day the world mourned for a hero who had saved them from darkness, who had given them hope, who had sacrificed everything for them. A hero who was only 17 years old. The funeral was grand and solemn. People from all walks of life came to pay their respects. Civilians, shinobis, merchants, nobles, and even a few daimyos. They all bowed their heads in gratitude and sorrow. Naruto was the only shinobi in whose funeral the tailed beasts were present. They roared in grief and anger as they watched their friend being lowered into the ground. He was buried next to his mother, who had died giving birth to him. Konohamaru cried the most. He had looked up to Naruto as his role model, his mentor, his brother. He had vowed to follow his footsteps, to become the Hokage, to protect the village. He kept his promise. He became the 7th Hokage, and he led the village with courage and wisdom. But he never stopped missing Naruto. Tsunade didn't move at all. She stood still, like a statue. Her face was blank, but her eyes were red. She had lost her lover, her brother, her student, and now her successor. She had lost too much. She couldn't bear it anymore. She officially retired and left the village. 20 years later, she passed away and was buried next to Naruto. Sakura cried like a baby. She had loved Naruto, but she had never told him. She had hurt him, ignored him, rejected him. She regretted it all. She wanted to make it up to him, to show him how much she cared. She began wearing orange clothes for him, despite looking hideous in them. She never took them off. Hinata was silently sobbing next to her sister and father. She had loved Naruto, and she had told him. She had supported him, admired him, accepted him. She was happy with him, for a brief moment. She wanted to be with him, to marry him, to have his children. She never got the chance. She never married. She became the next Hyuga clan head, and she led the clan with grace and dignity. Her final words before she died were, Naruto-kun. Kakashi tried his best not to be sad. He had taught Naruto, guided him, watched him grow. He had seen him become a hero, a leader, a legend. He was proud of him, like a father. He wanted to honor him, to continue his legacy, to make him smile. He became the next Hokage, and he married Anko, with whom he had a boy, Naruto Hatake. He named him after his student, his friend, his son. Sasuke and Sakura married 5 years later and had a daughter, Naruto Uchiha. She inherited his spirit, his will, his power. She idolized Naruto, whose face was carved into the Hokage monument, despite not being one. She called him her uncle, her hero, her inspiration. She became the 8th Hokage. Gaara later adopted a child, whom he named Naruto of the Sand. He was a boy who had been orphaned by war, who had been shunned by his peers, who had been lonely and sad. He reminded Gaara of himself and of Naruto. He gave him a home, a family, a purpose. He taught him how to love, how to trust, how to live. He named him after his friend, his ally, his brother, Naruto of the Sand. Irakin never married. He spent most of his time in Naruto's ramen, which was formerly known as Ichiraku Ramen. He had been Naruto's teacher, his supporter, his confidant. He had seen him grow from a troublemaker to a savior, from a nobody to a somebody. He loved him like a son. He passed away 10 years later, in his sleep. He dreamed of Naruto, smiling and laughing. In most dimensions, Otsutsukis invaded the earth, Ishiki, Momoshiki, Urashiki, Code, and so on. But in this one, they never came. Naruto became more than just a name. He became a symbol, a legend, a legacy. People named their kids after him, in honor of him. His name was pronounced with utmost respect, with awe and admiration. History books made him a legendary figure, a hero of heroes. His accomplishments were still remembered, his deeds still praised. Kids in the academies were encouraged by saying that you can always become a ninja even if you are the dead last. He was known as the immortal hero. How true it was, because nobody ever forgot him. In a distant realm, a newborn drew its first breath. The infant squinted, bewildered by the blurred world that greeted it. He is exquisite, murmured a feminine voice. Undoubtedly, chimed in another, perhaps male. See his hair, the unmistakable mark of our lineage. And those eyes, the woman continued. Not merely blue, but radiant, like the very heavens themselves. They shimmer, he observed. Like the boundless sky, she agreed. So these are the eyes. It seems so. I imagined a normal life for him. We shall grant him just that, a life of normalcy. Yes. But what shall we name him? His eyes mirror the sky. Thus, Tenedikyum Gojo, the woman declared, her smile radiant. A fitting name, Tenedikyum. The baby emitted an odd sound, baffling its caretakers. He doesn't seem to approve, the man observed. Nonsense. It's a splendid name. Eyes that cradle the heavens. Too conspicuous. Can we shield him from those old fogies with such a moniker? Have a better suggestion? Akira. Too commonplace. Koenji. Dull. Yuki. Laughable. George Washington. You jest. Their laughter echoed through the ethereal chamber. Naruto, now thoroughly bewildered, recalled his demise. Yet here he stood, dwarfed by two colossal beings. The situation defied reason. When he attempted to speak, an infantile sound emerged, a newborn's cry. I am reborn, he wondered, his mind a tempest of questions. On a serene spring dawn, as the chorus of birds serenaded the world awake and sakura petals waltzed on the gentle breath of the wind, Tenedikyum Gojo made his entrance into the world. He was the progeny of Hanako and Koenji Gojo, two souls bound by more than love. They shared the legacy of their bloodline. Their matching hues of hair and eyes were the visible threads that tied them to the illustrious Gojo lineage, famed for their mystical curse techniques, limitless and the rare ocular gift, the six eyes, a marvel that graced the clan once in generations. Satoru Gojo, Hanako's elder brother, was the bearer of those legendary eyes, his gaze piercing the veil of the mundane to witness the extraordinary. His potential was boundless, his destiny to become the paramount sorcerer of his age. Yet, this gift cast a shadow over Hanako, leaving her overlooked and undervalued, her own non-combative abilities deemed inconsequential in the clan's eyes. While Satoru ascended to the ranks of a special-grade jujitsu sorcerer, she remained obscured in the background. Koenji's fate was marked by an even harsher stigma, heavenly restriction. Devoid of cursed energy, he was the outcast, the anomaly in a lineage defined by power. The clan's disdain weighed upon him, a burden he bore with silent resilience. United by their shared isolation, Hanako and Koenji sought refuge in each other, their love a sanctuary from the world's scorn. At 17, they turned their backs on the Gojo name and found solace in a simple life, tending to a farm, their happiness a quiet rebellion against their birthright. Then came the birth of their son, a child who defied all expectations. With the six eyes that mirrored his uncle's, Tenedikyum's gaze held the brilliance of the heavens themselves. Even with closed eyes, the luminescence of his being shone through, a testament to the enigmatic power that coursed through his veins, a power that would one day challenge the very foundations of their world. In the clandestine world of the Gojo clan and the broader realm of jujitsu, the birth of a child with the six eyes was a harbinger of both awe and peril. Aware of the lengths to which some would go to possess such power, Hanako and Koenji made a heart-wrenching decision. They would shroud their son's gift in secrecy, proclaiming him blind to the world. A blindfold, akin to that worn by Satoru, would be his shield, a poignant but necessary ruse. Tenedikyum, a child of quietude and warmth, rarely shed tears. His world was one of gentle embraces and playful laughter with his parents, a sanctuary of love in a world fraught with hidden dangers. When he uttered his first word, Tu-chan, it was a moment so tender it lingered in Hanako's heart for days, a balm to her spirit. The name Tenedikyum, however, seemed to sit uneasily with him, like a coat too stiff and formal. Thus, his father, inspired by a moment as simple as savoring a bowl of ramen, bestowed upon him a name that resonated with his soul, Naruto. Naruto, with an appetite for life as voracious as his love for ramen, embraced the world with open arms. His compassion knew no bounds. He was a friend to every creature, great and small. His sense of justice was fierce, once defending the honor of an elderly woman with a courage that belied his tender age. His parents admired his noble heart, even as they cautioned him against the folly of reckless bravery. Yet, Naruto marched to the beat of his own drum, undeterred by size or strength when standing up for what was right. His quirks were many, each endearing him further to those who knew him best. His mother cherished his verbal tick, a signature melody in their daily lives. Naruto bore the visage of a past life, sans the whisker marks and golden locks. His eyes, a mesmerizing amethyst, held galaxies within their depths, a cosmic dance of stars and nebulae. His parents entrusted him with a sacred charge, to reveal the universe in his gaze only to those who held his heart, and whose hearts he held in return. Beneath the veil of his blindfold, his world was awash with clarity. The fabric that shielded his eyes from the world was a paradox, for it hid the very beauty it sought to protect. He often pondered the reason behind this constant concealment. Were his eyes too captivating, too extraordinary to be revealed? As he grew, he came to realize that his sight was no ordinary gift. It was a dojutsu of remarkable power, allowing him to perceive the minutiae of the world in breathtaking detail. Knowledge flowed to him effortlessly, every explanation and lesson crystallizing in his mind with vivid precision. Yet, the origin of his unique vision remained shrouded in mystery, locked away by his parents' silence. He yearned for the day they would unveil the story of his eyes, but a whisper of doubt lingered. Perhaps some secrets were destined to remain just beyond reach. At the tender age of 4, Tenshinhan Gojo, once known to the world as Naruto Uzumaki, crossed the threshold of academia. His intellect was undeniable, a brilliant flame that burned bright and unwavering. Despite his youthful defiance, he was a marvel, a prodigy whose spirit housed the wisdom of ages. His teachers were drawn to his charm, finding joy in his innocent laughter and the sweetness of his demeanor. Yet, the shadow of envy loomed in the form of older children, who cloaked their intimidation with taunts aimed at his distinctive orange blindfold. But Naruto, resilient as ever, remained unfazed by their shallow jeers. The day came when their words turned to actions, a physical challenge meant to break him. But the playground bore witness to their defeat, the bullies rendered unconscious, their plans undone. No suspicion fell upon Naruto, the blind boy, an irony not lost on those who knew the truth. Isolation followed, as fear replaced curiosity among his peers. They whispered demon, once more, a label he knew all too well. Regret tinged his heart, for his desire to connect had been overshadowed by the need to defend. Friendship, it seemed, would be a treasure hard won in this place. Then, at 5, a day like no other dawned. The schoolyard emptied, leaving Naruto alone with the echo of laughter and the fading warmth of the sun. He waited for the familiar faces of his parents, but they did not come. He waited and waited. Time stretched on, a silent companion to his solitude. With resolve, he ventured home, his steps carrying him to the modest embrace of their traditional Japanese abode. Tadaima, he called into the stillness, a greeting met with silence. Concern flickered within him. Were they laboring late, toiling under the weight of financial strain? Perhaps his fondness for ramen should be curbed, a small sacrifice for their well-being. Then, the shrill ring of the telephone shattered the quiet. Startled, he reached for the receiver, his fingers brushing against the symbol of a world still new and strange to him. The call connected, and with it, the thread of destiny began to weave its next chapter. Hello. His voice wavered, a mix of innocence and confusion. This is the Gojo residence. May I ask who's calling? The familiar endearment slipped out, a habit hard to break. Is this Naruto-kun? The voice on the other end was tinged with a sorrow he knew all too well. Auntie. Recognition dawned. It was the voice of his parents' friend, a comforting presence in his life. Her words came hesitantly, a prelude to heartache. I was at your school, Naruto-kun, but you were nowhere to be found. There's something I need to tell you. A primal instinct screamed within him to sever the connection, to flee from the impending storm. "What's wrong?" he asked, the words barely a whisper, dread coiling in his stomach. Through tears, she delivered the blow. "Your parents, there's been an accident at the farm. A wall collapsed." Silence engulfed him, a void where his heartbeat should have been. "Naruto-kun, are you there?" Desperation laced her voice, a plea for him to respond. But he was lost to the world, a statue with the phone still pressed to his ear. A cerulean aura emanated from him, unseen yet felt by all. It was a silent testament to his grief, a force that swept through the town, cleansing it of darkness. When dawn broke, the sorcerers would only find whispers of spirits that once were, all vanished in the wake of his sorrow. "All right, Itadori-kun," Satoru said as he held Yuji. "Watch how I fight." Domain expansion. Yugo stopped when he felt something powerful far away. He looked at Gojo, who had a stern expression on his face. So he asked, "Was that something connected to you?" "Who knows?" Gojo smiled brightly. "Now, where were we?" "Right? Domain expansion. Coffin of the Iron Mountain." Domain expansion. Infinite void. Gojo shattered his opponent's domain with his own as he lifted his blindfold a bit. Then he looked at the direction the surge of that power came from. Hanako. Chapter 2. I am blind, so what? When he first laid eyes on his little sister, a fierce determination ignited within him. He vowed to shield her from every peril at any cost. They whispered that she was ordinary, too plain to matter, but he paid no heed. Their bond blossomed through games of hide and seek, where he'd always triumph with his keen eyes. She was his bundle of joy, a sunbeam in his life. As the years flowed by, their closeness waned. Satoru honed his abilities, mastering his eyes and the limitless technique. Meanwhile, Hanako, his sister, faced neglect. Her cursed technique compelled others to witness their deepest desires, yet her cursed energy pool remained small. The clan favored him, showering him with fine food and attire, while she received the mundane. Tradition dictated that women could never lead the clan. Satoru immersed himself in clan affairs and the Jujutsu Society. Eventually, he left the clan, securing admission to Jujutsu High School in Tokyo. Time blurred memories. Satoru Gojo's name echoed across the Jujutsu world. His sister became a distant whisper. There came a day when he no longer recognized her. One sunny morning, a girl in a yellow kimono tended the garden. Respectfully, she watered the plants. Her features bore the classic Gojo resemblance, yet he assumed she was a non-sorcerer. "Oi," he called. "Yes, Satoru," she replied without turning. "Who are you?" he asked. "I've not seen you." She laughed, catching him off guard. "What's amusing?" he inquired. "You think I'd fall for that joke?" "What joke?" Her laughter ceased, replaced by a solemn expression. "Nothing, Satoru-sama." Later, he recognized her, the sister he'd overlooked. But it was too late. Tasked with guarding Riko, the star plasma vessel, he failed to save her. Suguru Geto's betrayal weighed heavily. Their mother, perpetually ill, relied on Hanako. Yet she fled the clan with a boy, leaving her mother to suffer. Days later, their mother succumbed to illness. Satoru harbored resentment toward his sister. His eyes, once all-seeing, failed to recognize her. Shame gnawed at him. Years passed. He lost touch with Hanako, but he knew where she lived, knew she had a son, a blind child. Confronting Jogo, he sensed an aura akin to his own. Hanako or her son, he wondered. News of her death, alongside her husband Kenji, stirred mixed emotions. Pity for the 5-year-old they left behind tugged at his heart. He resolved to meet the child, his nephew. Everyone looked at him with pitiful eyes. Some ruffled his hair, while some gave him some money. The boy was sitting still, no movement. But everyone could notice the obvious dampness of his orange blindfold. They knew that eventually everyone had to go and the boy would be left alone. He will have to live alone for some time. About 20 people attended the ceremony. Most were co-workers of his parents, as they had almost no friends. A few neighbors and some acquainted people also came. There were also 3 people whom nobody recognized. Well, everyone assumed the eldest of them, a tall man with white hair and blindfold, couldn't be anyone not related to the orphan boy. He must be a blood relative. Poor family. Blindness runs through their genes. The man was with two teenagers. The female had short brown light hair with brown eyes, wearing a navy blue top with a similar colored skirt. She had a pouch attached to her waist. The boy with green was wearing a navy blue shirt and navy blue pants with a purplish tint. Both of the teenagers had a bored look on their face. The man, on the other hand, had a stern look on his face. He was looking at the boy sitting in the middle of the hall with a sad face. Poor kid, Nobara Kujisaki said. Losing parents at such a young age. Yeah, Megumi Fushiguro agreed. Then he looked at his sensei. Why are we here again? Shouldn't we be preparing for the tournament? 2 days ago, Jujitsu sorcerers felt some abnormal curse energy coming from this town. Gojo explained. Every curse in this town was gone. They just disappeared. Some unknown, but powerful energy exorcised them. And guess what? The kid over there has cursed energy. That kid looks barely 5, exclaimed Nobara. Gojo-sensei, Nobara said as she frowned. Is that kid related to you? Yeah, agreed Megumi. That same hair and that blindfold is pretty hard to ignore. Look at those pictures over there. They also had the same hair and eyes. Gojo didn't reply. He wasn't in his usual cheerful mode. As the burial was finished, everyone began to leave one by one, except for the trio and the boy, who was sitting next to his mother and father's gravestone. As everyone left, the priest handed him some papers and left. The boy was still sitting there, no movement. The trio slowly made their way towards the boy. Hey, kid, Nobara began awkwardly. I am really sorry for your loss. I'm so sorry that I want to cry. But you see, I have some problems in my eyes, like you, no offense, so no tears. Kujisaki, Meguma flatly said. Are you mocking him? What? Absolutely not. Oh God, I am just not so good at expressing my feelings. Yeah, I know. Oi, Fushiguro, are you mocking me? Yeah. What do you want? The boy tilted his head, and the trio couldn't help but notice the dampness on his blindfold. The boy must be crying all this time, they thought. I'll get to the point, Gojo said, much to the shock of his students. Gojo not being nice? Especially to a newly made orphan child? How did you do it? Do what? The boy spoke. Did you exorcise all those curses? What is curse? And how do I exorcise with them? Megumi facepalmed and Nobara let out an unladylike laughter. The boy frowned while Gojo tapped on his own blindfold. I know who you are and what you possess, Gojo said, and the boy shivered a bit before immediately calming himself down. You can't fool me. I can't see, the boy said as he grabbed his cane and stood up. Stop wasting your time, old man. Huh? Gojo smirked as he rubbed his chin. You know how I look, despite being blind. You are not very convincing. The boy sniffed. Drop the act and talk. Sensei, Megumi spoke. Aren't you being too rude? I know what I am doing. You just watch. And you, take off the blindfold. I told you, the boy almost shouted. I am blind, so what do you want? Just leave me ugh. What the? Nobara almost shouted when she saw her sensei immobilizing the boy and forcefully taking his blindfold off. Sensei, have you? Oh my God, are those? Her face was twitching as she saw the boy's eyes. The boy had momentarily forgotten about the promise he made with his parents as he unintentionally showed his amethyst eyes to the trio. What did you? He froze as he processed what had just happened. He immediately shut his eyes off, but instead of drawing their attention away from his eyes, they frowned as they noticed his blood vessels and capillaries of his eyelids. Wow, Megumi remarked. Gojo-sensei, you now have the second most shining eyes on the planet. Gojo ignored him. The boy was desperately trying to escape, but Gojo's grip was way too much for the 5-year-old. This child is dangerous, Gojo said without letting the boy go. Very dangerous. If given the opportunity, he can wreak havoc on the entire Jujitsu society and the entire world. He must be taken to our secret headquarters. He will be executed there. Sensei, have you gone crazy? Megumi yelled. He is only a 5-year-old child. And you gave Itadori a chance even though he ate one of Sukuna's fingers. Why you want to hand over a child to them, those old men? Because he has 6 eyes like you. No, better 6 eyes than you? I see you burning in the fire of jealousy. I, I won't let you harm the boy, Nobara said as she raised her hammer towards him. Even if I have to fight you for it. Using the conversation as a distraction, Naruto bit down hard on Gojo's hand, and when Gojo pulled his hand away, Naruto quickly ran for the door. Gojo angrily raised a bright red round ball of cursed energy at his fingertips. When he was just about to launch the attack on the boy, two figures emerged from the boys behind and jumped at the man. Gojo jumped and effortlessly dodged their attacks and took a defensive stance. Suddenly, the creatures began to speak. Leave the baby, leave him, or we will kill you all. Kill you. The creatures, who were obviously cursed spirits, had the shape of something between dragon and human. One had red skin, while the other had blue skin. They had long white hair that floated in an unearthly way. They had a dim white glow with their body. Gojo lifted the blindfold over his eyes, and everyone could see his sky-blue eyes. Megumi and Nobara quickly began creating their own defensive and offensive attacks. Megumi summoned his white and black dog, and the girl quickly took out some nails and her hammer. Just as I suspected, Gojo spoke with a hint of amusement. I knew you wouldn't leave him behind, even in death. You had to become a cursed spirit to be so strong, because you could never be strong as a human. You are a disappointment. A coward as always. Shut it. The spirit, which appears to be a female, chanted, clutching its head and shaking violently. You were always weak and stupid, and now you are even weaker and stupider. Gojo continued. Should. But I have one last thing to say. Gojo said dramatically. Have no fear, because it was just pure drama. What? Nobara shouted. You did not want to kill the boy under the pretext of danger? I was going to hammer you. Whatever, my cute students. I am very proud of you. No matter how powerful the villain of injustice is, never help him, and try his best to stop him. Anyways, I was just testing one thing. If the kid was in trouble, these two would come to his aid. My guess proved true. I knew that no matter how much raw power a child can possess, he can never exorcise so many cursed spirits in such a short time. I assumed he had some help. The boy must have released a lot of cursed energy which had attracted cursed spirits, and in order to protect him, these two. He pointed towards the cursed spirits. Finish them all. Whoa. Nobara whistled as she exclaimed. He must have hell of some cursed energy. Don't underestimate him, Satoru Gojo warned. He has almost as equal amount of cursed energy as Yuta and has the potential to surpass Yuta and possibly even me. That's why he is dangerous. But Sensei, Megumi said, did he curse his parents? I don't know, but that might be the case. How did he bite you? Because of infinity, any attack stops, then? I was bitten because I allowed myself to be bitten. I was trying to understand at what level of danger Hanako and Kinji came to save their son. From what I understand, since they are cowards, they don't come unless there is no other way. But yes, Naruto is dangerous, both to himself and to others. I don't want anyone else to suffer the same fate as Yuta. Then, he looked at Naruto. So kid. Oi kid. Gojo waved his hand at the boy who was staring at the cursed spirits. I think you broke him, Megumi said. Everyone gets traumatized when they meet Sensei for the first time. Nobara added. The boy's eyes moisturized. Tu-chan. He spoke. It was barely a whisper, but everyone heard it anyway. Oka-chan. Our baby is looking at us in this form. The red cursed spirit. The male one shouted and began to tear its white gleaming hair off. The blue one, the female one, also followed. Soon both the curses were shouting various things. The boy suddenly burst into tears. You didn't leave me. The boy came running and hugged the nearest curse, the red one. You are back. I knew you would come back. A pregnant pause. Baby. My baby. The curses snapped their heads towards him and began to float around him, as if he was the sun and they were planets. They patted his back, ruffled his hair, and so on. The boy was not afraid. Two creepy-looking creatures, or rather, two special-grade curses touching him, and he had no fear. It was disturbing, but they were his parents and he recognized them, so it was explainable, to a certain extent. We are sorry. But how are you back? I mean, you know. I'll explain, kid. Gojo said. You come from the Gojo family, one of the three main bloodlines that possess certain abilities and techniques. So we have cursed energy running through your blood, like it or not. When we feel negative emotions, our cursed energy is released. By learning how to wield it, we can use cursed techniques. However, untamed cursed energy is dangerous, and due to the shock you had when your parents died, you might have cursed them. So, he dramatically said, as long as the curse is not lifted, they are stuck with you. Do you get it? Or is it too hard? SK. The boy hugged tighter. I understand enough. Oh, our baby. Smart, cute baby, the blue spirit shouted. Nobara wiped a fake tear. You know, I would have considered clicking some photos if I had a phone or camera embodied with cursed energy. Nobara said as she sighed. Hummed Megumi. We will protect you from the Gojo demon. Suddenly the blue cursed spirit said in a joyful tune said. Who? The boy gave an expression by curling his eyebrow. That would be me. Gojo raised his hand with a bright smile. And it's Gojo, not Jojo. The boy looked at him and snorted. You do look kind of suspicious and scary, old man. The boy remarked. Gojo laughed while his student's sweat dropped. He is hugging those curses, and Sensei looks weird to him. So now, tell me, kid, Gojo said as he closed in. Are you willing to become my apprentice? I can help you to learn how to use those eyes. They are called 6 eyes, by the way. I can also teach you how to use cursed energy. So what is your answer? No, was the boy's immediate answer. Gojo's smile faded. Do you hate me for that stunt I just pulled? Look, I am sorry. No, I am not mad at you. I understand. The boy spoke and he raised his hands and looked at his palms. These eyes, I can understand everything with them. But I don't want to be involved in this mess, not now. Besides, you remind me of someone I used to know. So, I don't hate you. Okay, your choice. But let me tell you one thing. You don't want to get involved, huh? But soon, you will be forced to be involved. Then he looked at the cursed spirits. And you guys, if you guys try to harm anyone, no matter whatever the reason, I will personally exorcise you without a moment's hesitation, special grade or not. He announced in a cold voice. But these things will come later. First, nephew, you say, where will you be now? Surely you will not be alone in that house. No, I will stay there, said Naruto. I have them, don't I? I won't be alone. You don't have to worry about it. Now leave me alone, please. Okay, nephew. He turned and began to walk away. We'll see you soon. Megumi and Nobara followed him. Bye. Then he frowned. Wait, nephew? Baby, the blue curse said in a high-pitched voice. Are you hungry? Yeah. His face lit up. Ramen time. Geto's grin stretched across his face, revealing yellowed teeth. His eyes, shadowed by dark circles, bore into the young sorcerer before him. A junior Satoru Gojo, he mused, voice dripping with malice. Cursed energy swirling, a tempest akin to Yuta Okatsu's. And those 6 eyes, a forbidden inheritance, a curse veiled in power. His fingers twitched, eager for a feast. Not one, but 2 special grade apparitions at your beck and call. My, I am already starving. Chapter 3, The Goodwill Event I. Cursed Energy User. Tenedikyum Gojo. Age, 5. Height, 3 feet 2 inches. Weight, 60 pounds. Grade, special grade. Assumed to be blind. Has a gigantic cursed energy pool. Cursed apparition. Hanako Gojo. Semi-special grade. Cursed apparition. Kenji Gojo. Semi-special grade. Casualties. A ramen shop was destroyed within 1 week of the genesis of the curses. 7 people were severely injured. 9 children were hospitalized within 10 days of the genesis of the curses. Orders. The boy must be executed. Knock. Knock. Naruto was eating his breakfast when he heard someone knocking at the front door. Coming. The echo of the door slamming still ringing in his ears. He brushed his fingers over the spot where the food had been, a small smile tugging at his lips despite the morning's chaos. It was a rare moment of peace, one he knew wouldn't last. Upon opening the door, Naruto discovered a smiling Yumiko Oba-chan. Good morning, Naruto-kun, she said as she entered the house, followed by 2 people, a young man and a woman. Yumiko-san, she was the woman who had informed Naruto about his parents' death. Why did she bring a young couple to his house? How are you today? Am fine, he said before looking at the trio. Oba-chan, he asked as he let them in. The young couple smiled at him. He smiled back, which confused them as they were told that he was blind. Who are they? They are very nice people, Naruto-kun, she replied with a smile. They can look after you now. What do you mean by that? Naruto asked with a frown. What I mean to say is that. The woman hesitated for a moment before saying, they are here to adopt you. No sooner had she said it, than the said couple was lifted 5 feet above the ground, and they felt being throttled. The woman, Yumiko-san, screamed loudly as she saw them being lifted like that. Oka-san, Oto-san, shouted Naruto. Stop it. The duo were promptly dropped on the wooden floor, and they let out a painful moan. The woman had her jaw broken, while the man had deep claw-marked wounds on his neck and throat. Nobody can replace us, shouted Kenji as he spat at the man who was struggling to breathe. If someone tries, someone dies, finished Hanako. I am sorry, Naruto-kun, Yumiko-san said as she rushed to open the door. But it seems that your parents haven't left. Forgive me. I won't come again. Naruto sighed as the trio ran away from the house. He needed to learn how to use this so-called cursed energy, which was equivalent to chakra of the shinobi world. He had better learn as fast as he could before his parents decided to kill someone off. He made his way to the telephone. He had his uncle's phone number as the man gave him his visiting card before leaving. Naruto stood in the quiet of his home, the echo of the door slamming still ringing in his ears. He brushed his fingers over the spot where the food had been, a small smile tugging at his lips despite the morning's chaos. It was a rare moment of peace, one he knew wouldn't last. He could feel the weight of his uncle's card in his hand, heavy with the promise of answers. The phone before him was an old model, the numbers worn from years of use. He dialed the number slowly, each beep a step towards a future he couldn't yet see. The line clicked, and a voice answered, gruff with sleep or worry. Naruto couldn't tell which. Hello. Oh, is it my cute little nephew? How's everything going? Is your stupid mom and dad behaving? They aren't stupid, old man. Yeah. My questions answer. They are not always around me. They appear sometimes, all of a sudden, without any kind of warning. They kind of blew away the ramen shop I went to yesterday because the man was overcharging me, and they might have tried to kill a dog that tried to lick me, and they might also have tried to murder a couple that came to adopt me. They also kind of broke a few bones of some of my classmates who tried to bully me. So, they have not been behaving, Thought so much. Satoru mused. Typical. So, what do you want me to do? So, can you so can you please teach me databeo? What? Can you teach me how to make them not attack people? So you want to tame them? That was not what I meant, databeo. Naruto had no solid reason to trust the man. He wanted to believe Satoru though, because Satoru Gojo looked too much like Kakashi. The reason is absurd, yet Naruto wanted to believe the man. Naruto's heart told him that the man had no evil plans for him. Naruto's heart was seldom wrong. So, will you teach me how to use cursed powers? Satoru let out a sigh before saying, I get it, don't worry, I'll send my manager to you. He'll pick you up. What if they try to, kill him? He may appear weak at first, but he is tough. Don't worry. But what about my school? Worry not, as Satoru Gojo is here. Okay, but how do I know if it is him or not? He is a thin man with rectangular glasses. He looks old, but isn't. Name's Kiyotaka Ajichi. Expect him around 12 at noon tomorrow. Okay, see you, old man. I am not old. I am only 3 years older than your mom. That's what I call old. Hey, Satoru Gojo, an old grumpy voice said. Why is the boy still alive? Because I chose not to kill him, he replied casually. 9 children and 9 adults are hospitalized because of that boy. Another voice spoke. That boy is dangerous. He may not be like Yuta Okutsu. Another joined. What if the curses of Hanako and Kenji Gojo are not tamed? They are nowhere as strong as Rika or Emoto, but are still strong enough. As the boy gets stronger, they will also become stronger. Either he tames them, or he dies. I will not execute him. Gojo lifted his glasses and looked in that direction. We have other sorcerers who can do it. I dare you to try. Gojo said as he let out a sarcastic laughter. I am Satoru Gojo. Tenedikyum Gojo is under my protection. Whoever tries to harm him must face me. They didn't reply. A furious Satoru Gojo left the chamber. They shared a moment of silence before someone said, I heard that the boy will be there at the Kyoto Sister School Goodwill event. We can execute him there. The others nodded in agreement. The students were all chit-chatting and having friendly gossips, when suddenly, a spooky vibe crept up on them. They peeked at the stairs, expecting some big, scary curse to show up. But surprise, it was just a kid with a bluish-white head. They almost laughed off the creepy feeling because most of them thought the same thing. Has Satoru Gojo made a mini-me? Oops, sorry to interrupt. Today, little Tenedikyum Gojo, will hang with the teachers, Ijichi said. Naruto checked out the older kids. Yep, just as he guessed, super odd. They all clammed up. The lady with the scar kept giving him the stink eye. Like, did she have a beef with him, or what? She stomped over and popped a question. Hey kid. Yeah. Who's your mom? Hanako Gojo. He shrugged. So. Gojo? For real? She flipped out and stormed off. Curse you, Satoru Gojo. She was steaming mad. What was that about? Naruto asked Ijichi, who was just as puzzled. I'm not too sure, he said, adjusting his glasses. But I think Yudahime-san got the wrong idea. Naruto glanced at the older students staring at him like he was a wanted poster. Tokyo Jujutsu High. Naruto glanced at the older students staring at him like he was a wanted poster. Tokyo Jujutsu High students were a strange bunch. Togo Inumaki, a second year, just said, salmon. Naruto was like, sorry, bro, but I'm all about ramen. First year Nobara Kujisaki cackled like a witch, and her classmate Megumi Fushiguro nudged her. The dude reminded Naruto of his buddy Sasuke. Maki Zenin, another second year, was all grumpy, barely looked at him, and was like, don't bug me, or you'll be sorry. And the oddest of them all, a panda. But this panda seemed more people-like than the rest. There was another student, Yuta Okatsu, another second-year student who was said to be the strongest student of the school, as well as its sister school. The boy had single-handedly handled the competition and won it the previous year. But he was not in the country at that moment. Satoru told him that Yuta was also a special grade just like him and Naruto. When the boy was younger and a friend of his died, he couldn't accept the fate and rejected her death, which caused her to become a special grade curse. Fortunately, the girl, Rika Orimoto, was freed a year ago. Kyoto High's crew was a bit less wacky. A tiny blonde with a broom asked him if girls gotta be tough, not just pretty, to make it big. Sure. He got a death glare. I mean, nope. But why ask? Good, she nodded. So we're cool. Okay. Who could be Maki's twin, messed up his hair and told him to behave. Huh. And there was a robot, Mekamaru, who was quiet as a mouse and dressed like any other student. Miwa was super nice, though. She played with his hair, pinched his cheek, and had a real sweet smile. She said she digs kids and has little sibs. Naruto thought she was awesome. Perfect, except for feeling a bit down on herself sometimes. Noritoshi Kumo was chill, eyes always shut. Kinda gave off a Niji vibe. And then there was Tadu Aoi, the big guy with a scar, looking all serious. What's your favorite type of girl? Tadu grumbled. If I don't like your answer, I'll tickle you till you can't breathe. Everyone held their breath. Tadu-senpai, Miwa gasped. He's just a little kid. I know he looks 5, but he's got the soul of a grown-up, Tadu insisted, staring into Naruto's eyes. My mom's gone, Naruto said with a pout. My crush is far away, and my friend left me. I just remember them. Silence hung in the air. Naruto sniffled. Out of nowhere, a shadowy figure leaped at Tadu, yelling, You made my kiddo sad. Now you're gonna get it. The students jumped back, ready to fight. Not another one like Okatsu. I shouted. Where do they keep coming from? The shadow swiped at Tadu, who dodged like he was dancing. But he was getting tired, real tired. I need to save my energy, Tadu thought. Time for my secret move. Right as the shadow was about to claw him, Tadu clapped and switched places with Megumi. Fushiguro, Maki called out, running over with her stick. Megumi was confused and scared. This was a big deal curse. He was about to call his spirit buddies when the shadow stopped. It was staring at Naruto, who was now holding its hand. How'd he get there? Everyone wondered. Mommy, Naruto said, looking sad. Please don't be mean. I don't want to lose a friend because of me. Everyone was shocked. Fushiguro's his friend? Since when? It's okay, sweetie, the shadow said in a squeaky voice. Won't hurt, buddy. No more tears. It patted Naruto's head and vanished. Wow, Maki said, walking over. You don't see that every day? You are. Tadu started, but before he could finish, he was flying through the air, smacked by an invisible force. Daddy, Naruto cried out. The shadow shrugged and disappeared. What's going on here? Yudahime asked, coming back with Momo. She saw Tadu getting up, looking like he'd just hugged a wall. Tadu, can't you wait for the event to start? You're gonna give me gray hairs. Just then, Satoru Gojo strolled up, pushing a cart full of ice cream and waving. Sorry for being late. He grinned, messing up Naruto's hair. Went on a little trip. You guys cool with that? He handed out pink, squishy toys to everyone. Gifts for you, and you, and you. He gave 2 to Miwa, who was super happy. Double for you. He turned to Yudahime. Oops, didn't get you anything. Who cares about gifts, dummy? She tried to hit him, but he dodged with a laugh. She sighed and asked, when did you marry? Who did you marry? Why did you marry? How did you marry? Gojo looked confused. He rubbed his chin with his hand. I am married? Wow, didn't know that. Who's the lucky woman? Ijichi decided to speak before anything awkward happened. He stood beside Gojo and leaned towards his ear before whispering something. Gojo's smile returned. Naruto-kun is my cute little nephew. Oh. Where are you going, Yudahime? I just remember that I have a super important task to do, Yudahime said as she began to swiftly walk away. Later, guys. Okay, Megumi said as he looked at his sensei. Sensei, what really took you so long? I have the biggest gift for you guys, he said as he made a dramatic pose. Presenting. Yuji Itadori is back. The trolley door was abruptly opened, and a boy stood up and took an identical dramatic pose. Nobody gave a reply. Everyone gazed at the pink-haired teen with a confused expression. Megumi and Nobara looked like they had just seen a ghost. The boy looked disappointed. They don't look very happy, Itadori exclaimed. What about the Kyoto folks? Gojo turned the trolley towards the students who were busy with the gift he had bought for them. Nobody is happy. As the boy was engrossed in conversation with his fellow students, Gojo went to talk with 2 older people standing a bit far. One, a man in his late 60s, another, a man in his late 40s or so. But Naruto's mind was somewhere else. He was looking at Itadori, who was being yelled at by his friends. Naruto lifted his blindfold a bit. His amethyst eye sparkled. A Jinchuriki. Itadori looked at the boy. Sadly, Naruto was not quick enough to hide his eyes as Yuji spotted them. Yuji noticed the child's uneasiness, and he was smart enough to not speak about his eyes. He has eyes I have never seen before, he thought. They were shining. Is he someone related to Sensei? Hello, kid. Yuji stood in front of him before kneeling. My name is Yuji Itadori. What is yours? And Naruto. So are you here to watch the game? Yeah, I guess, Databeo. You are with Sensei? The old man? Yeah. Naruto scratched his head. If you don't mind telling me, do you have someone inside you? Yuji was taken aback by the question, but he smiled at the boy. I can tell you, but I have a condition. Condition? Naruto tensed. Ever since his parents died, he has been feeling very insecure about others around him. He feels uneasy because he fears that his parents might attack someone if they sense any sort of danger from others. Being the hyperactive kid Naruto is, it is very hard for him to stay calm, resulting in making him look like a shy kid. He asked Satoru for help because he wanted to master this power to cause less distress to others as well as wanting to free his parents. What is it? Will you be my friend? Yuji asked with a friendly grin. Naruto gave him a foxy grin. Somewhere in Jujutsu High. A being with multiple eyes with a human-like figure was sitting in a meditative posture when suddenly all of its eyes snapped open. He is here. Tenjin quickly conjured an ancient-looking book with a brown cover. She swiftly flipped a few pages before she reached the page. It read, "Marvel of creation, a boy with amethyst eyes, yearning to break the chains of ancient myth. Tresses pale as winter snow, reflecting moonlit skies. He holds the heavens captive with just one glance. Ever defying fate, with courage unyielding and strong. Looking through veils of darkness, he'll take every chance. Beneath his gaze, impossible becomes reality. Roaming the realms of mystic lore and fantasy. Escaping the clutches of a world on fire. Awestruck whispers follow him. His legend does inspire. Keeper of the secrets hidden in ethereal flight. Engulfed in love from God, a celestial light. Demonstrating strength like wings of divine angels. In this apocalypse, he bears hope amidst life's tangles." "So it is true," Tenjin whispered. "It really is true. He is here. Kenjaku, you also know it, don't you? So what will you do now?" Chapter 4, Goodwill Event 2. Tenedikyum Gojo, huh? Mahito said as he turned a page of his book. "So the boy has 6 eyes?" Jogo said in a worried tune. "Now that's a big problem. One Satoru Gojo is already causing enough trouble. The boy is a big problem." "Not yet," Geto corrected as he took a sip from his lemon juice. "He may have a car, but he doesn't know how to drive. It's as simple as that." Jogo sneered. Currently, Geto, along with Mahito and Jogo, was relaxing on deck chairs. Jogo was still recovering after he fought against Satoru Gojo, while Mahito was in a jolly mood. Geto had that "I am very wise and nice" smile on his face. "I want to play with that kid," Mahito cheerfully said as he snapped his book shut. He leaned towards Geto and asked, "Can I?" Geto gave him an understanding smile. "He is not fun to play with yet. Although, yes, his cursed parents." Mahito stood up. "They should be enough of a challenge." "Mahito," Geto sternly said, "stay away from the kid. At least wait until Satoru Gojo is sealed away." "Ugh," Mahito pouted. "You're no fun. The boy will have an important role in the future," Geto said as he took another sip. "Really?" Jogo asked, genuinely curious. "Indeed," replied Geto before he mentally added, "in the culling games and—" He smirked. "You are still alive, old man," Gojo said as he patted the old man's shoulder. "I thought you would have died from the shock of Yuji being alive. Youngsters these days." He sighed. "Why is Sukuna's vessel and that Gojo boy still alive?" Yoshinobu Gakkiganji asked. "I am not letting my own nephew be executed, and as for Yuji," Gojo smiled. "You guys sent him to die there, didn't you? Well, he just returned from being dead. Isn't that amazing?" Gakkiganji sighed. "Can you not feel that boy's odd presence?" argued Gakkiganji. "It is different from Okatsu's. He must be." "I already told you, old man," Gojo said in a stern voice. "Leave him alone. Both of them. You will regret your actions," the old principal said before walking away. Satoru looked at Yaga and jumped at him to give a hug. "Yo, Yaga-sensei." But he had to stop. "All right, everyone," Yaga said as he tightly held Gojo between his armpits, stopping the man from saying anything irritating. "The rules are simple," Yaga said. "The Tokyo-Kyoto Sister School Exchange event will be held over 2 days. The first day is going to be group battles," Principal Yaga announced as he held Satoru. "The rules are simple. The first team to exorcise the second-grade cursed spirit released in the designated area wins. Several third-grade and lower cursed spirits will be released into the designated area as well. If a winner is not decided by sunset, the team that exorcises the most cursed spirits wins. There is no other rule. Also, you can try to sabotage the others. However, keep in mind that you're all on the same side in the fight against the curses. I hope this program will help you to learn about yourselves and your future companions through competing." Satoru had been struggling to escape through the entire speech and began to struggle with some more effort. He soon began to tap on Yaga's back to submit. Yaga ignored Satoru's surrender and continued his speech. Yudaheim openly laughed at his struggle. Everyone knew she had some sort of twisted and complex feeling for that man by now. You are not allowed to kill anyone, but you can injure them. However, the injury should not be beyond recovery. That's it. Any questions? Nobody had any. Good. You're all dismissed. The event begins at noon. All the best. Much to the annoyance of Naruto, he was forced to sit on Satoru's lap. The man was tickling him from time to time. He could feel his parents wanting to come out and kill Satoru. He hated to admit it, but they were cowards around Satoru Gojo. Was he really that strong? The observation room had 5 occupants. There was an extremely old man who was glaring at him for some unknown reason. There was that scar-faced woman who was trying to hide her face under her hairs. Perhaps she was feeling uneasiness about the previous interaction. There was a middle-aged dark-skinned man wearing sunglasses. He had an I am nice guy aura around him. A woman around Satoru's age wearing navy blue clothes with a huge braid in front of her face, covering one of her eyes, was looking at him as if he was some product on display for sale. He shivered under her gaze. Satoru was being annoying as ever, trading friendly words with Yudahime and talking something about traitors. Why are you telling me all this? Yudahime asked Satoru as she took a sip of tea from her cup. I can be a traitor too, you know. Nah. He moved his hand in a dismissing way and stretched a grin across his face. You can't be a traitor. Really? A smile, barely visible, was seen on her face. Do you believe me that much? Nah, you're too weak. Nobody would ever involve you in such things. Dead silence. Satoru, you should learn how to respect your seniors. She stood up and threw the tea at him. However, the infinity barrier saved him from it. Sadly, Naruto didn't have that sort of protection as he was showered with hot liquid. He screamed as he was surprised, and the pain was obvious. His skin was not that of an adult, causing the pain to multiply a few times. Satoru's grin faded as Yudahime paled while others looked at the scene with curiosity. What have you done? A very familiar voice was heard. She hurt our baby. She must die. Another voice joined. Everyone gaped as they saw 2 figures, one red and another blue cursed spirits emerging from the ceiling and proceeding towards the scar-faced woman in a very intimidating way. Oh crap. You brought this to yourself, Yudahime, Satoru said sagely as he did a mock salute. It was nice knowing you. Rest in peace. By the end of the session, Yudahime had a few broken bones and a huge potato on her head. She was saved by the boy whom she will be indebted to for as long as she is alive. Gakaganji was observing everything for quite some time now. He decided that it was time he asked the question that has been bugging him from the start. Gojo, Satoru. Yeah, old man. Satoru looked at him. You need help going to the washroom? Gakaganji ignored that. One thing I still don't understand. How can the boy watch the game if he is blind? Who said he is blind? Satoru said with a smile. He sees with his eyes, he sees well. He can see even better than all of us. More than all, Meimei raised an eyebrow. But he is wearing a blindfold, Yaga pointed out. He has the 6 eyes, of course. Satoru promptly removed Naruto's blindfold in a blurred motion. That was totally uncalled for. Naruto blinked at the people and smiled awkwardly. Silence. Everyone was gazing at the amethyst orbs. Smack. Hey, Satoru said as he rubbed his head. What was that for? You were not supposed to tell that to anybody. Really? Satoru scratched his chin. Well, everybody would have known eventually. Now we can know who is your friend and foe. How so? Naruto asked. There are now 4 other people who know about Tenodakyum having 6 eyes. I am pretty sure that Principal Yaga won't disclose this to anybody, except for maybe telling Master Tenjin. Yudahime rarely meets higher-ups, so she has less than a 10% chance of telling about Naruto's 6 eyes to those geezers. He looked at Meimei, who smirked. I think Meimei isn't seeing any profit in selling this information. Not at the moment. The woman smiled. Besides, I have morals too. As for Principal Geezer, I am 100% sure he will be sharing this piece of information with his half-dead fellows. How dare you accuse me? The old man yelled. Meanwhile, Naruto was watching the fight between Tadu Aoi and Yuji Itadori. The older boy is giving some lectures to the younger one. There are a lot of things that Naruto did not know, and he is also learning with Yuji. So cursed energy is chakra's equivalent, but at the same time, it is completely different. Thought Naruto. Chakra is both physical and spiritual, whereas cursed energy is mostly spiritual. However, one can enhance their physical capabilities by using cursed energy. It's like using chakra like Sakura-chan and Ba-chan. Interesting. In order to mold cursed energy, one must first feel it. It appears that cursed energy is a byproduct of negative emotions. So if I can control my negative emotions, I should be able to use cursed energy, theoretically. However, it is not an easy task to do as I am only physically 5 years old. But then again, I have these so-called 6 eyes. I can understand everything that is theoretically explainable. I can also understand anything that is practically visible. So if I can see a practical demonstration of usage of cursed energy, then I should be able to understand how to use my own. My uncle's infinity barrier is too complex for me to understand. In order to see a practical demonstration, I must go out and see a match live with my own eyes. It was at this point that he noticed a hand being waved in front of his face. Oi! Naruto looked at Satoru, who was waving his hands in front of his face. Are you okay? You just spaced out a bit. Am fine, Databeo, he said. He looked thoughtful for a moment before asking. Hey, old man, can I ask something? Shoot away. I want to learn how to use cursed energy. Huh? Satoru looked confused. I already told you that I am going to teach you, then what is this all about? I want to see the match with my own eyes. Satoru didn't reply for a moment before he clapped. Okie dokie. With that, both uncle and nephew teleported away instantly, leaving behind a perplexed audience. One Satoru Gojo is a lot of headache, imagine 2 of them. Gakaganji sighed. I couldn't agree more, Yudahime added. Yaga sighed while Meimei laughed. Naruto found himself tightly held by Satoru. Hey, what's the big idea? He looked at his surroundings and froze. Ak. We are floating in the sky. Calm down, Gaki. Satoru said casually. It's nothing too dangerous. We are in the middle of freaking clouds, Databeo. How can it not be dangerous? Naruto being paranoid and in panic mode was justified. Naruto flew only once or twice in his life as a shinobi. After Hagoromo gave him 6 paths chakra, he was able to fly. But under the constant pressure of war, he didn't even realize how scary it was to look down and see nothing under your feet. Do you want to give up then? Satoru asked in a monotone. Naruto halted his motions. He looked at the man and said, I never give up. Good, Satoru nodded. I don't want you to die in regrets. What was that? Naruto raised an eyebrow. But before he could get an answer, he felt discomfort over his forehead. Ouch. Man, I hate when my brain can't keep up with the information these eyes provide. It is really irritating. I can relate, Satoru said. Now, let me give you a brief description of infinity. I thought we were going to watch the game. We are. Satoru nodded. But at the same time, you will listen to my lecture. Crap. Satoru laughed wholeheartedly. Despite being 300s of meters above the ground, Naruto could see everything in perfect detail. It was irritating, but he was slowly getting used to it. Let's talk about Limitless first. Satoru began. In its neutral form, the base state of the Limitless is referred to as the infinity, which operates in a manner reminiscent of convergent and divergent series in mathematics. This technique gives a user the ability to stop virtually anything directed towards them by subdividing the space between them and the object an infinite number of times, until the object slows down so much that it appears to halt its motion completely. Anything that enters this infinitely divided space will never reach the user, acting almost like an invisible force field around them. The only way to overcome this ability is through domain expansion, domain amplification, or special curse tools that can negate the technique entirely. Hey, old man, Naruto said as hot steams were released from his ears. What is it? Satoru felt irritated at being interrupted. It's not that I don't appreciate it, but shouldn't you teach me the basics of cursed energy first? Didn't Ajichi tell you the basics? He did, Naruto nodded. But it was very brief. I was hoping you could teach me more. You have a logic, Satoru said as his eyes shifted at the fight between Tadu and Yuji. But I have a feeling that in the upcoming future, a dark time is coming in which we must be ready. Basics are important, true. But if you know nothing about actual combat, you will die. He gave a dark smile. A very sinister one, too. I am sure that you are going to be in a lot of those fights. I am a 5-year-old kid for crying out loud, retorted Naruto. Who and why would someone want me to fight? I don't know, Satoru sighed. But I'm sure that in the upcoming future you will have to fight for your life, whether you like it or not. Satoru proceeded to tell him more about Limitless while he observed the fight between Yuji and Tadu. He was learning multiple things at the same time. But for some unknown reason, he felt something sinister. Satoru Gojo has left, what? But I thought why? But ugh. Fine. The man said before he chanted. Darker than darkness, emerge from darkness. Purify that which is impure. He looked at the veil that was emerging. If I can't get Satoru, I will get his son at the very least. He laughed like a maniac. Chapter 5, Goodwill Event 3. Ten-chan. I told you not to call me that, baka. Ah, so cruel. I thought you liked me. Shut it. Just because we had to share the same chopsticks doesn't mean I like you. Besides, I am forbidden to have this sort of feeling, remember? Of course, guardian of the barrier. I am already in a sore mood after everything Sukuna did. Don't make it even worse. About that, Tin-chan, what are your opinions about his actions? What do you mean opinions, huh? He killed everyone in that dojo. Just because they were rude, doesn't mean he should kill them. That is something I can agree on with you. There's a but there. There is no but. Tell me what it is in your mind. I have nothing in my mind. Huh? Has Sensei told you about the child of prophecy? Huh? Who doesn't know about it? It's a hot topic. It's like a fairy tale, isn't it? It was just a stupid old man's stupid dream. I mean, who has shining amethyst eyes? 6 eyes users. Aren't they usually blue? That is not necessary. Whatever. Say, Tin-chan, you have the immortality technique and Sensei mentioned that you will be the one to guard the barrier. Yes, so? Are you jealous it wasn't you? Nah, I like to be young. You have immortality technique, not evergreen technique. As much as I hate to agree with you, it's true. But why are we talking about this? Do you wish to meet him one day? Who? The child of prophecy. I don't care. I wish I could. What's on your mind? Just imagine, Tin-chan, with his powers, we could understand the real power of cursed energy. Imagine what we could accomplish. You are doing that again. Oh, sorry. Anyways, if he is ever born into this world, I wish to be there to see what changes he brings to the jujitsu world. What if he doesn't want such a thing? What if he wants to live a normal life? It's his destiny. Destiny, huh? Well, keep dreaming. I am leaving. Good night, Kinjaku. Good night, Tenjin. Amaki took the phone from Fushiger's Shikigami and dialed Miwa's number. HNLO. Useless Miwa speaking. Go to sleep. As Inumaki heard a thud sound from the other side of the line, he understood that their plan had worked. Go back, he told the Shikigami after patting on its head. He was about to walk away when he heard a twig break from behind him. He quickly unzipped his high collar and looked back. A first-grade cursed spirit's head was seen, and it looked at him from behind a tree. He was perplexed, but went to take quick action when the head of the curse was broken by a pale and huge-looking head. A special grade curse came into his view. Naruto was sitting on a tree branch watching Tadu and Yuji play or fight. Obviously, Yuji is stronger, but Tadu is more durable and skilled. Therefore, none of them could defeat each other. Naruto watched Mato Guy's taijutsu. This standard of combat was boring to him. Both of them could be destroyed by Guy in his prime without opening any gate. It's funny, really. The power of the people of Ninja Earth is far, far greater than the power of the people here. If his father, Minato, was told to wield some Hiraishin Kanai and fight against all the warriors in this world, he would be seen standing over everyone's unconscious bodies in the blink of an eye. A shinobi is versatile. A sorcerer? Not always. That's the difference in strength between a sorcerer and shinobi. Naruto trained from a young age while living in Konoha. He would train so much that he would pass out from exhaustion. Still, he would not give up. Beat Kiba in a race. He trained. Sasuke must be defeated in hand-to-hand combat. He trained. Bet with Tsunade to learn the Rasengan? He trained. Sage Mode? He trained. Mastering Kyuubi's chakra? He trained. He never gave up training. Ever. Even before his very death in the shinobi world, he trained. His determination was still there. These sloppy moves were nothing for him. Satoru told everyone that Naruto had tremendous potential. Everyone knew he was going to be a force to reckon with. But no one, not even his own parents, knew this. He was a shinobi. He was Naruto Uzumaki. Not maybe for too long, a couple of hours perhaps, but he reached the pinnacle of shinobi. For a few hours, he was the greatest shinobi ever to exist. Strength? More than Tsunade's. Speed? Faster than Minato. Tactics? Better than both Tobirama and Kakashi. Scale of attacks? Far superior to Hashirama's. Jutsus? More powerful than Hiruzen's. Still, there was a reason why he was watching this game so closely. This world didn't have chakra, but it did have this so-called cursed energy. If he could master this power, then many, if not all of his techniques could be resurrected. How he missed Rasengan, Shadow Clones, and Oiroku no Jutsu. It is only a matter of fact before he learned how to wield this energy. He still had massive reserves, just like a true Uzumaki. His mother, Kushina, would have been proud. He was not wearing his blindfold anymore. He was recording everything from this fight. Every flow of energy, every word from the lectures, every tip. Everything. Something piqued his interest, though. Black Flash. Listen, Yuji, my brother, Tadu said as he placed his hands on his hips. Black Flash is a distortion in space that occurs when cursed energy is applied within 0.000001 seconds of a physical hit. When a sorcerer is able to achieve this, their cursed energy flashes black, and the destructive power of their strike is equal to a normal hit to the power of 2.5. The difference between those who have used the Black Flash and those who haven't is like the difference between heaven and earth. They are on a whole other level. Cool, Yuji chirped. So I am going to do it. No one can ever do this at will. Tadu sternly said. Not even Satoru Gojo. It does not happen randomly and requires immense concentration. Not even with the 6 eyes? Yes, Nanami Kinto is the current record holder. He could use 5 Black Flash. Is that so? Oi, Gorilla and Ai-chan? Naruto called from the tree branch. Yeoi. Tadu realized that he had just approved the nickname by turning at the child. Don't call me that. Yeah. Naruto waved it off and jumped from the tree branch, which was 7 feet above the ground, and landed gracefully, much to the shock of the older boys. Say, can you use Black Flash? I have used it a couple of times, but haven't mastered using it. Tadu replied honestly. Oh, that's too bad. Yuji said. I wanted to learn it badly. You don't need a mentor in order to learn how to use it, said Tadu. You just learn it under pressure from the situation. That's understandable. Sagely nodded Naruto. Now, Tadu said as he assumed his fighting stance once more. We have a fight to continue. Satoru Gojo said that you will not disturb our spar. I hope you will respect his words. Yeah, Gorilla and Ai-chan. Naruto said as he went to walk away, only to abruptly halt his motion as he felt something suffocating, an ominous presence. He swiftly turned his head towards the older duo, who also had an identical perplexed expression on their face. He said, Is it normal? No, Tadu replied without turning. He looked at Yuji. It must be a special grade cursed spirit. Brother, looks like we have a perfect opportunity to learn Black Flash. They quickly started to make their way towards the place where the feeling was coming from. Naruto stood there for a moment before following them. Not only Yuji and Ai-chan, but also I am going to learn Black Flash today. Hanami was just about to finish off the boy and girl when he abruptly stopped as he felt a cluster of powerful auras approaching. Before he could fully understand what or who was coming, he found his surroundings saturated with the auras. They were fast. There were 3 people, one of which he recognized as Sukuna's vessel, other he recognized as, is that Tenedikyum Gojo? He couldn't hurt the child as Geto forbade them to do so. The last member of the trio was a muscular young man with a scar on his face. He also had a powerful aura around him. Sukuna's vessel was supposed to be very weak and a newbie in the jujitsu world. but he couldn't underestimate them. Moments later, a panda came and took the injured girl and boy away. Meanwhile, Sukuna's vessel stepped into the water and began to walk towards Hanami with a calculative gaze. The muscular boy and the child stood by the trees and took a relaxing pose. Were they underestimating him? Were they that strong? Yuji, my brother, the oldest of the group, called to the pink-haired boy. I will not help you unless you successfully launch a black flash, even if you die. Got it. Sukuna's vessel, now named Yuji, announced with determination. Oni-chan, the youngest of the trio, called out. Tell me how you feel when you release the black flash. What is black flash? Was it strong enough to take him, a special grade cursed spirit, down? No chance. They are probably messing around. They stand no chance. Black flash. Before he could understand what had happened, a blur came in his view and the pink-haired boy landed a devastating blow on his torso, and Hanami was sent a few meters away under the force of the strength while the water in the path was promptly divided in the pathway. It was astonishing, the amount of strength and speed the boy possessed. But Hanami was unhurt. He was shocked, true, but he was far from being defeated. Man, I really thought that I could have a black flash over there, Yuji said disappointingly as he stared at his fist. Don't give up, Oni-chan, cheered by the younger boy. Kick that bastard's butt. Yeah, you bet. Yuji launched himself at Hanami again. You can't just launch it in the first attack, Tadu said. Just keep punching that curse. Okay. You think I'll let you? Hanami said by establishing a mental link. It just talked in my head, Tenadakyum shouted. It? Of course I can talk, child, Hanami said. Oi, curse, the pink-haired boy said. Do you happen to know a stitch-faced curse? He is talking about Majito, isn't he? Hanami thought. What if I said I did? Whatever, Yuji said as he took a step forward. You are going down. Divergence fist. Hanami quickly dodged the punch. Yuji threw an uppercut. Hanami couldn't avoid that. Hami was pushed several feet away. Hanami decides to use his curse technique. Roots upon roots began to emerge from the ground and went to tangle Itadori. Yuji tried his best to dodge the attacks. Hence his motions became little more than a blur. Tadu and Naruto were observing their brother's movements with a very keen set of eyes. Tadu was looking for flaws and noting areas that needed improvements while Naruto followed the flow of cursed energy not only in Yuji, but also in the cursed spirit. It was truly a fascinating sight to see. The flow of cursed energy in their body was truly quite unique. The way they were being released, it was amazing. While cursed energy was not as potent as chakra, it was still very powerful in its own right. The Hyuga could release chakra from most of their body parts, but cursed energy can be released from any part of one's body, which means no chakra pathways, but each of your cells could radiate energy. Magnificent, Naruto smiled unknowingly. I wonder how many ways I can exploit this, Databeo. Yuji threw a barrage of punches which disintegrated the roots, but he wasn't able to stop the assault as they kept coming and coming. Yuji jumped at Hanami with a fist prepared to connect with the curse's jaw. Hanami summoned a wooden shield to protect himself. Black flash. Black and crimson light was erected from the punch that Yuji had launched. The punch was so powerful that the wooden shield was unable to withstand it, which ultimately caused the punch to connect with Hanami. Hanami was shocked. It was not something he deduced would have happened. The punch was far more powerful than the ones from earlier. It was so powerful that Hanami vomited blood. Oh yeah, exclaimed Tadu happily. You did it, my brother. Great job, Oni-chan, Naruto added. Thank you, Yuji said while not shifting his gaze from the curse. He threw a punch aimed at Hanami's face. But that didn't work. Hanami immediately came up behind Yuji and landed a punch on his back. The force of the punch was so chilling that Yuji almost passed out. He fell about 6 meters away. That was a lucky hit, Hanami said as he approached the fallen boy. It was my mistake, I underestimated you. It won't happen again. Tadu stepped forward and Hanami halted his approach. He helped Yuji stand up. Brother, you have fulfilled the requirement. Now, I shall assist you. I'll help too, Databeo, Naruto said from the background. Shut up, Tadu warned. You are not my friend, let alone brother. Besides, You haven't even told me what type of girls you like. Gorilla Nai-san is very knowledgeable. Naruto quickly thought, I must keep a good relationship with him. In order to stay in his good list, I must answer it. But how? How about? Well, I, like pink-haired ones, with green eyes, those that hit on your head whenever you say something stupid, and, those that have monstrous strength, enough to crater into earth, and those who can break every single one of your bones before healing them. The ones with another personality too. The other three stared at him for a long time. Was that a fusion of me, Kujisaki, Maki-senpai, Fushiguro, and Shoko-sensei? Yuji deadpanned. Naruto shrugged. Ugh, I don't know half of them, Naruto said, but that's my type. So, ha 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 ha. A mouth on Yuji's left cheek appeared. I like you, child of pro. Who asked for your opinion? Yuji halted him mid-sentence by putting his hand on the cheek. Tadu raised his left hand. They looked at him. That, Tadu said as he clenched his raised hand's fist, was very descriptive. I'm not sure if that is boring or not, but he looked at the child and gave a thumbs up. That sure is an interesting type, even if it is unrealistic and full of fantasy. Naruto grinned. This was a good improvement. Now it's time we finish this curse. Tenedikyum, stand there and watch. Tadu and Yuji marched towards the curse at an astonishing speed before punching at it together. The curse flew about 20 meters away before hitting itself with a tree. It stood up and raised its hand, and once again tree roots began to come out from the ground and try to tangle the duo. Tadu and Yuji effortlessly dodged all the roots and attacked the curse with great speed. Tadu revealed his curse technique, a technique that allows him to swap places with anything or anyone. Using this, he, along with Yuji, cornered the cursed spirit. The cursed spirit was pushed, thrown, trashed, kicked, punched, and so on. The duo was truly dynamic. It was scary and reminded Naruto of the Naruto-Sasuke duo. Whenever they were together, they were unstoppable. Black Flash. Yuji landed another one of those attacks and successfully injured the cursed spirit. Meanwhile, Naruto was observing their flow of cursed energy, the way every cell reacted, the way every muscle contracted, and the way the curse released its attacks. Naruto keenly observed Yuji's second Black Flash and was mesmerized by its beauty. He focused his own cursed energy and tried to draw it out. He raised a fist and tried to engulf it with cursed energy. Needless to say, he succeeded. He had the 6 eyes, that's why. His cursed energy was sky blue colored, not neon colored like most sorcerers. It felt like his physical strength had amplified 5 times. It felt great. Naruto now understands why the Hyuga and Uchiha were so arrogant. He knows why Nagato called himself God. He knows why Hagoromo was Sage of the 6 Paths. Because seeing is power. I wonder if I can do that by covering my whole body with cursed energy. The curse took the fight to the next level and erupted so many branches of trees at the same time and attacked at the duo that they had no choice but to jump, but it ultimately caused the roots to entangle them. The duo quickly got rid of the roots by tearing them off with their sheer strength alone. The cursed spirit was not done yet as it began to drop more and more roots and tree branches and then push them towards the sky. Naruto leapt from tree branch to tree branch in order to see the fight. The duo made their way towards the curse by running on the tree branches. Abruptly, all of the tree branches disappeared, making both teams perplexed and terrified. But before they could hit them, they used one another's feet as base and jumped by gathering momentum. Black Flash. Yuji's third attack did some serious damage to the curse as it fell on its knees and immediately began to tremble in fear. We shall end you here, Tadu declared confidently as he landed beside Yuji. Yuji nodded in agreement and proceeded to walk towards the curse. The curse, who was currently desperately looking for a way to escape, expanded its hands together and methed 2 words that Naruto will remember. Domain expansion. Naruto could feel cursed energy building around the area. He looked at the curse with hungry eyes, trying to learn everything and anything that he can learn, even if he has to get injured for it. However, before anything could happen and the curse could launch its technique, he looked up in the sky as he felt a very powerful presence and killing intent. Satoru Gojo was levitating hundreds of meters away. He had lifted the veil. All of a sudden, he disappeared from there. But neither of them moved from their spot, as if they were waiting for his action to take place. 5 seconds later, the curse began to do something on the ground, as roots began to come out and cover the curse. I am not fool enough like Mahito to fight with Satoru Gojo. This is not over. We will meet again. As 20 seconds passed, Naruto felt something odd. Perhaps Tadou felt it too, as he relaxed a bit. You think we will let you escape? Yuji stepped forward only to be stopped by Tadou. Yuji, my brother, he told Itadori. If you take one more step, then you will die. What? Before Yuji could ask what was wrong, a very powerful purple energy beam came towards them, specifically aimed towards the curse, destroying every tree and everything in its way. The diameter of the energy beam was about 10 meters. The power was so strong that they had to cover their eyes with their hands lest they should be blinded. Ah! The curse yelled in agony before the purple light completely engulfed it. When the light was gone, they saw that the entire line of area that the energy had come from had created a very long semicircle by destroying everything in the way. That's Satoru Gojo for you, Tadou smirked. He does everything in a unique way. Yeah, but Yuji looked at the area and the massive hole. Now we cannot find out if the curse is exorcised or not. Whether the curse was exorcised or not, Naruto had learned a lot of things from the fight and lectures. He was satisfied. Megumi was not expecting the boy to declare him as his friend. He was surprised, his friends too. He was surprised when he saw the boy with Tadou Aoi and Yuji come in aid of him and Maki. He was further surprised when Tennoda-kyun declined Panda Senpai's offer to come back. Why would he want to stay there? Regardless, Megumi was too weak to argue. When he woke up in the infirmary ward, he was greeted by the bright faces of Yuji, Nobara, and Tennoda-kyun. They shared a pizza before Tadou came and chased Yuji away. Tennoda-kyun. Huh. The boy, who was chewing, looked at him. What is ET? Why did you call me your friend there? Oh, I thought we were. No, we aren't. You tried to protect me from that old man that day. That's why you are my friend. Hammer-chan too. Oi, who are you calling Hammer-chan? Nobara raised her hammer. The boy jumped back and began to get up, but the girl caught him. Sorry, Hammer-chan. Shut it. Megumi's lips curled upwards a bit. Chapter 6, The Goodwill Event 4. Naruto-chan, where are you? Air. In the closet? No. Got you. Kenji opened the closet, but found no one. That's odd. He was pretty sure he heard Naruto's voice coming from there. Naruto-chan, he asked in confusion. Air. The voice was coming from the yard. That was certainly weird. He slided the door open and peeked outside. No one was seen at first. Perhaps Naruto was hiding behind the bonsai trees? Tu-chan. Deep. He jumped in surprise as he was not expecting Naruto to come from behind. He looked back at the boy who was giggling. Naruto has always been a mystery. He was inhumanly fast, even faster than Kenji himself, who had heavenly restriction. But the boy had no lack of cursed energy as he often radiated immense amounts of it unintentionally. Suddenly, his 3-year-old boy stopped giggling and frowned. Ignoring the adorable expression on the toddler's face, he looked in the direction his son was looking at. A cursed spirit, perhaps a 4th-grade threat. So his son could see them? Well, no surprise there. It would be odd for a 6-eyes user not to be able to see a curse. He sighed. It's time to give him the talk. He was lucky that Hanako lost the rock-paper-scissors game. Now she would have to give Naruto the talk when he hits puberty, and Kenji has to give Naruto the talk when he first sees a cursed spirit. Naruto-chan. He looked at his toddler who was still looking at the monkey-like creature with fascination. The curse was kinda cute though. Anyways, back to business. See that thing over there? That is what we call a curse. A curse. Yes, a curse. You see one, stay away from them, go away. Got it. Why? Because they are bad and they hurt humans. But it won't hurt anybody. Hurting humans is what curses do. They have no feelings, they just do whatever they like. That is not true, Databeo. What? I know it somehow. It is just sad. It is lonely. It just looks like that. It isn't sad or anything. Maybe it's just trying to lure you out. It's a trap. No, it isn't. How can you be so sure? I can see everything. That's not an explanation, kid. It is. Naruto nodded. Every creature has a light around their body. Yours and Mom's light is green when you are with me. But sometimes, when you guys are alone, at night, it becomes brown for a few minutes. I get your point. You don't need to elaborate on it. Okay, so that little guy over there has a yellow light around it. It's sad. Why would it be sad? Because it's lonely. So you can feel emotions. I don't have words to describe it. Can you tell me why I can? In time, kid, in time. When you are older. You mean when I can light up pink-brown like you and Mom? Hey, kid. Yeah. Don't tell your mom about that brown thing. Why? Because it is embarrassing? What's embarrassing? A feminine voice was heard, and both males looked back. While Naruto was secretly smirking, Kinji's face was draining color. Hey, Okachan, I have a brown thing to tell you. He wasn't the most infamous prank king of Konoha for nothing. Can someone wake him up? I want to sit on the couch. And why is he smiling like that? It's creepy, right? No, it's cute. I think he is having a good dream. Should we wake him up? Won't he make a fuss about it? It's not a good thing to wake kids up. It's rude. Shut up, Miwa. He is cute, and will look cuter when he is pissed off. What about the cursed spirits? That's true. Hey, Nobara, don't. What the hell, Databeo? You dare to wake our baby up. Die. Oh shit. A few moments later. Naruto yawned before looking at the group of teenage girls who were bruised and looking at him with a calculative look. Stop staring at me like that, would ya? Mai quickly engaged herself with her phone while Maki began to polish her staff. Meanwhile, Nobara was whistling and Momo was cleaning her broomstick with a napkin. Miwa smiled sheepishly. Naruto sighed. Where is everyone? Yuji asked as he unwrapped a candy before throwing it in his mouth. Salmon. Toji agreed as he stood beside the stairs. They should be here any moment now, informed Panda. I am glad you are okay, Kamo-san. Fushiguro said to the boy sitting next to him. I am also glad that you are not injured too much, said Boy remarked. Why are you guys so formal with each other? Momo asked with a frown. We are always like this, both boys said in unison. Whatever, Maki sneered. I just want to win. Naruto looked at Panda, who was sitting next to him. Is she always like this? He asked. She isn't around Yuta, Cuckoo. Oh, but why is she always in a sore mood? Because we have something she doesn't, Panda replied with a wink. Huh. You have it. I do. Fushiguro has it too. He does. Yep. Even Itadori over there has it. Do you have it? Let's not answer that. Okay, but what is it? Do a little brainstorming, kid. Naruto frowned before pulling down his blindfold. Everyone at this point knew about his eyes. It was meaningless to hide any longer. He gazed at the green-haired girl. Something we have, but she doesn't. Then it clicked. Of course. I get it. What? Maki frowned. Oh, nothing, Naruto said before he smirked. What's up with that look on your face? Nothing, Imone-chan. What did you call me? Nobody noticed that Panda was giggling like a pervert. We are here, Gojo yelled as he entered the room with Yutaheim, Gakaganji, and Yaga. So, we have decided that the second day's exam is going to be decided from this box, he said as he lifted a small cardboard box. What's that? Yuji said as he stepped forward. Don't just look at it. Pick up a piece of paper from it, Gojo said. Oh, okay, Yuji said before putting his hand in the box and pulling out a piece of paper after a few moments. Read it, Gakaganji said with curiosity. Yuji unfolded the paper and read aloud. Baseball. Baseball, Principal Yaga and Gakaganji exclaimed in unison. I am sure we did not put any baseball there, Yaga said. Gojo, care to tell what happened? He looked at the spot where Satoru was, but did not find the man. Gojo. Naruto took the box away and randomly took a paper out. Baseball. Another baseball. And another baseball. He giggled. That sneaky old man. Naruto watched the game from stands beside Shoko. She was smoking for like forever. Her habit reminded him of Hiruzen and Asuma. The Kyoto team was batting first. What is a baseball anyways? Naruto asked Yudahime, who was sitting at the front row, right in front of him. Listen, she coughed to clear her throat before beginning. Baseball is played with a bat, a ball, and gloves between two teams of 9 players each on a field with 4 white bases laid out in a diamond. Teams alternate positions as batters and fielders, exchanging places when 3 members of the batting team are put out. As batters, players try to hit the ball out of the reach of the fielding team and make a complete circuit around the bases for a run. The team that scores the most runs in 9 innings wins the game. Senpai, was that just from Wikipedia? Shoko asked, who was sitting next to Naruto. No? Yudahime quickly hid her cell phone in her kimono's sleeve. Naruto, did you understand anything? Although his eyes and brain simultaneously provided him with the information. Hey kid, Shoko said without looking at him. Yeah. Are you sure you are not Satoru's secret love child? What? Of course not. Of course, that's Satoru Gojo for you. He can't have, nah, forget it. What did you want to say? If you insist, she let out a fake sigh. I am a doctor, you see, I have medical knowledge. About 10 years ago, there was an accident. A terrible accident. What was the accident? A special grade cursed spirit was the one that caused it. She spoke with a dramatic tune. The cursed spirit was really strong. Gojo was putting his everything on the line. And the cursed spirit, seeing no other way, desperately began to attack. Blind attacks, yeah now. One of the hits was a lucky hit. It was a very, very bad hit for Gojo. Where did it hit? Yudahime asked from behind Naruto. Was she here listening the whole time? Was what Naruto thought. In the middle of his. In the middle of his? But, Naruto assumed. In the middle of his. In the middle of his? In the middle of his cake. Cake. The man was so angry at the cursed spirit for ruining his cake that he tortured it till it died. Come on, Databeo, who eats cake while fighting a cursed spirit? I thought the cursed spirit hit him at the... That wasn't funny, Shoko. Haha, I was just joking. She looked at Yudahime. Sorry, senpai. Shoko gave a smirk, but it looked like she didn't know how to smile properly. Naruto focused on the game. That Niji-like boy, Kamo, was betting, but instead of paying attention to the ball and the bat, he was trading words with Itadori, thus he was out. Mai couldn't score. The petite blonde girl didn't even swing the bat. The robot of the team, Mekamaru, was nowhere to be seen. Tadu had it worst. He was gossiping with Itadori and not paying attention. Thus, the pitcher, Maki, took the opportunity and threw the ball at him, which impacted on his left cheek. The older boy was dramatically falling, but before he could hit the ground, Itadori caught him. Tadu-senpai, Yuji cried out. My brother, Tadu sadly smiled. But before he could continue, several voices were heard one after another. Nice pitch. Nice pitch. Salmon. Nice pitch. Nice pitch. Nice pitch. Senpai, they really hate you. Yuji, my brother. Naruto sighed. He was getting tired of all this drama. Although the exchange of conversation between Yuji and Tadu reminded him of Guy and Lee. Then came the turn of Tokyo team's betting. They played far better than the Kyoto team. Toge did good. He was a good runner. Although he couldn't score, Maki was faster. She even almost scored a home run. The reason why she failed to score an actual home run was because Momo used her cursed technique and used her broom to float and catch the ball. The umpire, Satoru, declared it fair, much to the annoyance of the Tokyo team. There was another exception. Mekamaru, the robot, who apparently wasn't a robot, was using a proxy, a pitching machine, as a proxy. The umpire allowed it. The Kyoto team's argument was, Panda was also good, if not great. Fushiguro was excellent, but failed to score a run too. Nobara, well, she was being herself. Finally, it was Yuji's turn. The pink-haired boy scored a home run. Even Momo, who was in midair, couldn't catch the ball. Team Tokyo had won. Team Tokyo 0-1. Team Kyoto 0-0. The Goodwill Exchange event was over. Bathroom, bathroom, bathroom. Naruto really needed to find the bathroom. It was annoying, really. Such a big place has such bad sanitation facilities. You can always do it in the bushes, son. His father, who was apparently inside his mind, suggested. Don't be stupid, Baka. His mother scolded. Don't become a monkey like your dad. Be a gentleman, or else no girl will ever date you. He is only 5. 22, you mean? Naruto sighed. During the tournament, his mother and father's spirit had somehow bypassed his mind's natural barrier and were now residing in his mindscape. It was an invasion of privacy. Who gave them permission to get inside his head and read his memories? The big question is, how did they get into his head? Ah, sweetie, his mother spoke. We have our ways. And now they were reading his thoughts too. Come on, kid, it's not like we saw everything. His dad said, we just saw a few things. Wait, are they being sane? So as long as they are inside of him, they will be sane? Another thing is that they were in their human forms. It's a good thing. Glad you could find a benefit. His mom said. Ugh, what a drag. You sound like that lazy friend of yours. Ah, there it is, men's restroom. He went inside and finished his business. You forgot to zip up, kid. His father informed him, and instantly Naruto flushed in embarrassment. Please, don't look, Databeo. He quickly pulled his pants zip up. Huh, there's nothing we haven't seen before. His mother said, I used to change your diapers, remember? Naruto's face was now impossibly red-colored. Before he could finish his sentence, he suddenly felt cold on the back of his head before darkness consumed him. Satoru was texting Yutahime, who had left with the Kyoto teams a few hours ago, when he felt a cursed energy spike. He looked at the restroom's direction with a curled eyebrow. Should I go and help? He asked himself. Then he chuckled. Nah, he'll be fine. Then he paused for a moment. I think. Kaido slowly lifted the boy. The boy was not a normal person. A special grade threat to be exact. So he wasted no time wrapping talismans and seals on his hands and legs. He then put the kid in the sack. One might wonder, how did he get inside of the school, and how would he go out of this school? The old man knew a lot about this place and gave him a map of the place. It was a very hard job, really. He had little pool of cursed energy, so he could avoid getting detected inside the barrier of Master Tenjin with little effort. He was certainly not enjoying kidnapping a child and bringing him to people who would most likely kill him. But he really needed money, and they were providing more than enough of it. A part of him did feel guilty, but he had mouths to feed. Kaido was a tall man with thin skin and dirty blonde hair. He had a small scar on his exposed chest. Suddenly, he felt a movement on his shoulders. The sack began to shake violently before it fell on the ground. Kaido tried to grab it, but immediately, it was torn apart from inside and an orangish-white figure emerged. Hee, the figure, Tenedikyum, chuckled in a mocking tune. He looked at Kaido. You dare try to kidnap my baby? Kaido was confused. Your baby? Then it clicked him. Cursed spirit, mother and father. You are so dead now. The boy disappeared from the spot, and Kaido quickly braced himself for an attack. He received a punch on his gut. He felt little pain as it was just a child's body. Kaido fell on his knees. No, it can't be. Ah. The boy stood in front of him. Was that a black flash? Nah. It was simply my boy's natural strength. Kaido quickly stood up and pulled out a dagger from his pocket and engulfed it with his cursed energy. You know, the boy said as he walked towards Kaido. I don't want my son to get hurt. I also don't want to have blood on his hands. So why don't you just walk away and tell those old men that they should not send anyone else after our baby, and we will forget everything about this. Sounds good. Kaido had never once failed a mission. He had kidnapped people from the most impossible situations. He worked for the Kumo clan mostly, and he was quite famous there. A failed mission in his resume doesn't sound very good. Besides, he was a master in stealth missions. He was going to abduct this kid at any cost. Don't expect anyone to come here to save you. Kaido took an offensive stance as he spoke. My curse technique allows me to isolate an area of 70 square meters from anyone. Thus, no one can know what happens inside that particular place. I have already used my cursed technique on this place. He smirked. You're going down. Good grief. The boy sighed. Kaido jumped at him with his knife in hand, but the boy jumped and evaded it easily. He then received a kick straight at his jaw. No, he can't lose. It's time to get serious. Blood manipulation, wheel blades. The said blades, that looked like shurikens, were launched at the boy at a blinding speed, and Kaido smirked a bit. Maybe he will. The boy disappeared before reappearing once again. Kaido froze as he took a step before disappearing and reappearing in front of him. No, that move, he has been dead for a long time. Toji Fushigoro's flash step. The boy tried to hit him once again with a punch, but Kaido was still taller, so he quickly grabbed the boy's wrist and tried to immobilize him. The boy struggled a bit before stopping his motions abruptly. Why did he stop? Thought Kaido before he received his answer. The boy twisted his own hands and kicked Kaido on his guts. The kick was very strong, but not enough to defeat Kaido. He stood up and used cursed energy to enhance his physical capabilities. Wow, the boy said as he looked at Kaido. No wonder Naruto was so smart. These eyes are pretty amazing. Kaido understood what the boy was talking about. With the 6 eyes, one could literally see everything in perfect detail. He wasted no time and quickly conjured 2 blood sides in both his hands before launching himself at the boy. The boy jumped once again, but Kaido caught his legs and pulled him down before cutting off his leg from the ankle. The boy let out a scream of agony as he fell on the floor. Blood was coming out at an alarming rate. The boy looked at the detached leg before raising both his hands. Not so cool now, huh? Kaido smirked as he brought out a syringe filled with paralyzing drug. He was just about to give the boy the shot when he spoke. Time to say goodbye. Hey, and not so easily. What? If I do this. He struggled as he made a sign with his 9 fingers. This whole place would be destroyed along with Japan itself. My baby doesn't even know he can do it. Kaido was not fast enough to stop the boy from doing whatever he was doing. Come forth, Kai. But someone else was. That's enough. Kaido looked at the person with awe, who was currently holding the boy's hands. The man was none other than Satoru Gojo. The man looked at him with a smile. Now, Kaido Kumo, 2nd grade sorcerer, what should I do with you? Kaido gulped. Shoko was very tired. The intruder that Gojo had wounded was a bit hard to heal as he was constantly muttering stuff about severing Satoru Gojo. Gojo doesn't ever hold back. She was in her cabin scrolling through Facebook when someone loudly banged on her door. She wanted some rest, damn it. Shoko, Tenno-chan has cut off his leg. It was a pure accident. Now, I need you to fix it. Sighing heavily, she stood up and went to open the door. This is going to be a long night. Chapter 7. The Day I Walked in Reverse. My children, the old man said. Repeat after me. We, Jujutsu sorcerers, hereby vow that. We, Jujutsu sorcerers, hereby vow that. We will fight until the very end of our breath for the protection, preservation, and salvation of humanity. We will fight until the very end of our breath for the protection, preservation, and salvation of humanity. We will always keep our work, ideals, and goals isolated from the commoners and non-sorcerers. We will always keep our work, ideals, and goals isolated from the commoners and non-sorcerers. We will pass our knowledge to the next generation and ideals. We will pass our knowledge to the next generation and ideals. We will never kill an innocent. We will never kill an innocent. Until the day comes when we must break the vows, we shall not move away from our sacred path. Until the day comes when we must break the vows, we shall not move away from our sacred path. Destruction is inevitable for the evil sorcerer who kills innocents for his petty reasons, and who kills the parents of the child of prophecy. He would later die under the imitator's blade. Destruction is inevitable for the evil sorcerer who kills innocents for his petty reasons, and who kills the parents of the child of prophecy. He would later die under the imitator's blade. We hereby declare that we will protect and support the child of prophecy if we ever see him. We hereby declare that we will protect and support the child of prophecy if we ever see him. May we remain firm on our oath. May we remain firm on our oath. Before opening his eyes, he first let himself feel his entire body and looked for pain. No pain, good. Although there was a cold sensation on his feet. Assuming the worst, he moved his leg, but to his surprise, he could feel it. He let out a breath he was holding. Thank God, Databeo. Kid, are you all right? Satoru from beside him. He was sitting next to the bed on a chair. You gave us quite a scare there. Old man, he asked weakly. The one and only Satoru Gojo. Satoru said dramatically. What happened? I was in the bathroom. Then everything was blank. What happened? You were attacked. By whom? Some old people wanted you dead. Why? Oh, it makes sense. I get it. So what happened to the people that attacked me? It was just one man, pretty weak in any opinion. Honestly, I am disappointed to see you get knocked out by a weakling like him. Yeah. But did you save me? I saved you, sort of. What do you mean? Your idiotic father took over your body and almost got you killed. What? Yeah, you lost your bottom leg. Huh? But it's there. I can feel it. You bet. How? Remember that doctor lady? Yeah, the cake butt lady. What about her? She has some special healing skills. How did she heal me? Well, the woman in question emerged as she opened the door and stepped inside. She was smoking. In a clinic. Wait, this is a clinic? You simply use your cursed energy. Yeah, I can understand that much. Naruto said. But the question is how? You go for then hioi, she said as she waved her hand lazily. That honestly makes no sense. Gojo was about to criticize when Naruto spoke. Oh, that's it. Wait. Satoru almost shouted. You actually understand how the reversed curse technique works, just like that? Yeah, it's nothing difficult, Databeo. But it took me years to master it, argued Sadatu. You must be slow in the head. I don't believe it. Satoru shook his head. Like I care. Prove it. Huh. Naruto was unable to complete his sentence as Satoru took a surgical scissor from Shoko's medical tray and lightly stabbed on Naruto's left arm. Ow. What was that for? I am not healing that, Shoko said lazily. Now heal it, Satoru said with a confident smirk. Naruto looked at the adult in the room before fixing his gaze on the wound. Blood was slowly coming out from the small hole, wound. I could give it a try. Naruto sighed before he pushed negative energy into that spot with precision. Then, as soon as the spot was filled with negative energy, he once again pushed negative energy into that wound. Then he merged both the energies, and he noticed that the color of the new energy was red. Both Shoko and Satoru watched in awe as the blood that was coming out from the wound was slowly being absorbed into the wound. Within 10 seconds, all the blood was gone and slowly, the wound began to close itself. Within 20 seconds, the wound was gone completely. What the hell? Was all Satoru could say. He knew Tenedikyum was talented, but this was a completely unparalleled demonstration of that. He was just messing around. Learning reversed curse technique in a minute by just hearing Shoko's vague and bizarre explanation is unexplainable. He was just messing around by stabbing him. He had Shoko beside him anyway. But this was astonishing. There, all done. He looked at Satoru, who was looking at him like he had sprouted a second head. What? Kid, Satoru said. That was amazing. Wow, did you just praise me? What you did was just not something everyone can do. Only a handful of people can do it. I know, I am awesome, right? Then he sniffed into the air. Hey, what's that smell? Is something burning? Both uncle and nephew looked at the source and saw Shoko, whose jaw was hanging and the smell was, well, her cigarette had fallen from her mouth and was now burning the bed. Hey, cake butt lady. This kid, Shoko choked her own spit, managed to learn the reversed cursed technique in 10 seconds. Satoru laughed awkwardly as he scratched the back of his head. A few minutes later, Shoko left, leaving Satoru and Naruto. Say, old man, Naruto said all of a sudden. Satoru titled his head. Why can't you simply exorcise them? Your stupid mom and dad. Yeah. They are bound to you, a six-eyes user, who has nearly limitless cursed energy. They are not strong, but they are not normal curses. Then how did that Oda guy free his friend? That's Yuta, He freed Rika from his curse by transferring her cursed energy into a katana, which he then used to stab her spirit. This allowed him to unravel the knots of cursed energy that bound her to him and release her soul. You couldn't exorcise her. What? I could not simply exorcise Rika because she was not a normal cursed spirit, but a manifestation of Yuta's own cursed energy. Didn't I tell you that explained that a powerful curse like Rika could not be broken with one simple exorcism, and that Yuta had to undo the curse himself? A moment of silence. Old man. What? Teach me how to use cursed energy properly, will you? Satoru grinned. Time for the world to see the first ever grand grade jujitsu sorcerer. Yuji and Nobara were in the training grounds at Jujitsu High School, practicing their jujitsu techniques under the watchful eye of their instructor, Yaga, as Satoru was engaged somewhere else. Megumi, on the other hand, seemed disinterested, leaning against a nearby tree with a nonchalant expression. Nobara took a break from her training to grab a drink of water, and Yuji followed suit. As they sat on the grass, Nobara turned to Yuji with a mischievous glint in her eye. So, Yuji, did you hear about the time Megumi tried to summon a Shikigami and ended up summoning a cursed cat spirit instead? She asked, trying to stifle a giggle. Yuji's eyes widened in amusement. No way. Is that even possible? Megumi, is that true? He called out, turning to their unenthused classmate. Megumi sighed, shaking his head. It was a one-time thing, and it's not even that funny, he muttered, clearly unamused by the topic of conversation. It just appeared, I didn't summon it. Nobara nudged Yuji with her elbow. Come on, Megumi, you have to admit that's pretty hilarious. You accidentally summoned a cute little kitty instead of a Shikigami. Even I can't help but laugh, she said, smirking. As Yuji and Nobara erupted into laughter, Megumi couldn't help but crack a small smile, despite his efforts to appear unaffected. Fine. It was a mistake, he admitted grudgingly. By the way, where's Gojo-sensei? Nobara asked. It's almost been half a month, and we barely see him. He does train us, but otherwise, he is nowhere. He's been spending a lot of time with Naruto, Megumi said. Training. Well. Just then, Yaga called out for them to resume their training, and the three students reluctantly got back to work. However, the light-hearted moment had lifted the mood, and they continued with renewed energy and a shared sense of camaraderie. Satoru Gojo looked at the 5-year-old boy, Naruto, in front of him with a smile. Are you ready, kid? Gojo asked, ruffling the boy's hair. Yes, old man sensei, the boy replied, his eyes shining with curiosity and excitement. It's been 2 weeks since the Kamo guy tried to kidnap Naruto. After giving quite some thought, he understood that Naruto could learn anything. He just had to see it, that's it. However, there were some obvious conditions. For instance, his body must be ready to use the technique. Naruto had a knack for everything. The boy was extremely fast too for some unknown reason, but he was not physically strong. That's why Gojo made a training routine for him. It included push-ups, sit-ups, 10-kilometer run every day, and plenty of juice. For some reason, Naruto was paranoid about losing all his hair. Anyways, back to good. Then let's begin. Today, I'm going to teach you about the limitless and the infinity, the core of our curse technique. Do you know what they are? The boy nodded. The limitless is the ability to manipulate the space around us, right? And the infinity is the concept of endlessness that we use to create barriers and shields. Correct. You're a smart one. But do you know how they work? How do you activate them? Naruto shook his head. No, I don't. Please teach me. Gojo chuckled. All right then, listen carefully. The limitless is based on the idea of negative numbers. Do you know what negative numbers are? Naruto frowned. Negative numbers? Like -1, -2, -3? Exactly. Negative numbers are numbers that are less than 0. They are opposite to positive numbers, which are greater than 0. Now, imagine a number line, with 0 in the middle and positive numbers on the right and negative numbers on the left. Do you see it in your mind? Naruto closed his eyes and nodded. Good. Now, what happens if you keep adding positive numbers to each other? What do you get? The boy opened his eyes and answered. You get bigger and bigger positive numbers, right? right? And what happens if you keep adding negative numbers to each other? What do you get? The boy thought for a moment. You get smaller and smaller negative numbers? Exactly. And what happens if you add a positive number and a negative number together? What do you get? The boy hesitated. You get 0? Not always. It depends on the size of the numbers. For example, if you add 1 and minus 1, you get 0. But if you add 2 and minus 1, you get 1. And if you add 1 and minus 2, you get minus 1. Do you understand? The boy nodded slowly. Good. Now here's the trick. The limitless allows us to manipulate the space around us by using negative numbers. We can create negative space, which is space that is less than 0. Negative space is invisible, intangible, and impossible to measure. It is the opposite of normal space, which is positive space. Do you follow me so far? The boy nodded again. Good. Now, the infinity is the concept of endlessness that we use to create barriers and shields. It is based on the idea of dividing by 0. Do you know what dividing by 0 means? The boy shook his head. No, I don't. What does it mean? Gojo smiled. It means that you are trying to split something into 0 parts. For example, if you have a cake and you want to divide it by 2, you get 2 pieces of cake. If you want to divide it by 4, you get 4 pieces of cake, and so on. But what if you want to divide it by 0? How many pieces of cake do you get? The boy looked puzzled. I don't know. None. No, that's not the answer. The answer is that you can't divide by 0. It's impossible. It's undefined. It's infinite. Do you see why? The boy shook his head. Think about it. If you divide by 0, you are trying to make something that has no size, no shape, no existence. You are trying to make nothing. But nothing is not something. Nothing is nothing. You can't make anything out of something. It's a paradox. It's a contradiction. It's an anomaly. Do you get it? The boy nodded slowly. Good. Now, the infinity allows us to create barriers and shields by using the concept of dividing by 0. We can create infinite space, which is space that is endless, boundless, and immeasurable. Infinite space is invisible, intangible, and impossible to breach. It is the ultimate defense, the ultimate protection. Do you follow me so far? The boy nodded again. Good. Now, let me show you the first technique of the limitless, called the reverse red. It is a technique that reverses the sign of the space around you and turns it from positive to negative or from negative to positive. It is a technique that changes the nature of things and makes them opposite to what they are. It is a versatile technique, but also a tricky one. You have to be precise and accurate, or you might end up changing something you don't want to change. Most people think that you can use it to push things away, but that's not true. Do you understand? The boy nodded. Good. Now watch me. I'm going to use the reverse red on this rock. See this rock? It is a solid object made of positive space. It has a shape, a size, a weight, a color, a texture. It is a normal rock. But what if I use the reverse red on it? What do you think will happen? The boy looked at the rock and tried to guess. Will it become a liquid? Or a gas? Or a light? Or a sound? Gojo shook his head. No, 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 and no. Those are not the opposite of a solid. Those are different states of matter. The opposite of a solid is a hole. A hole is a negative space that has no shape, no size, no weight, no color, no texture. It is an abnormal hole. Watch this. Gojo pointed his finger at the rock and activated the reverse red. He reversed the sign of the space around the rock and turned it from positive to negative. The rock disappeared, and a hole appeared in its place. The hole was black, empty, and silent. It was a perfect hole. See that? I used the reverse red on the rock and turned it into a hole. I changed the nature of the rock and made it opposite to what it was. This is the first technique of the limitless, the reverse red. It is a technique that reverses the sign of the space around you and turns it from positive to negative or from negative to positive. Do you understand? Naruto nodded, his eyes wide with awe. Maybe I can recreate Rasengan with this. Good. Now let me show you the second technique of the limitless, called the amplify blue. It is a technique that amplifies the value of the space around you and makes it bigger or smaller, depending on the sign. It is a technique that enhances or diminishes the quality of things and makes them stronger or weaker, depending on the sign. It is a useful technique, but also a subtle one. You have to be careful and balanced, or you might end up amplifying or diminishing something too much. Do you understand? The boy nodded. Good. Now watch me. I'm going to use Amplify Blue on this flower. See this flower? It is a beautiful object made of positive space. It has a shape, a size, a life. It is a normal flower. But what if I use the Amplify Blue on it? What do you think will happen? The boy looked at the flower and tried to guess. Will it become bigger, or brighter, or more fragrant, or more alive? Gojo nodded. Yes, those are all possible outcomes. But it depends on how much I amplify the value of the space around the flower. If I amplify it too much, it might become too big, too bright, too fragrant, or too alive. And that might not be good for the flower or for us. Watch this. Gojo pointed his finger at the flower and activated the Amplify Blue. He amplified the value of the space around the flower. The flower kept growing in size until it was as big as a human. It looked majestic and magnificent, but also unnatural and out of place. See that? I used the Amplify Blue on the flower and made it bigger. I enhanced the quality of the flower and made it stronger. This is the second technique of the Limitless, the Amplify Blue. It is a technique that amplifies the value of the space around you and makes it bigger or smaller, depending on the sign. If you use it creatively, you can amplify the gravity and create a majestic attraction force. That's how I use it. Do you understand? The boy nodded, his eyes filled with wonder. Good. Now, let me show you the third and final technique of the Limitless, called the Hollow Purple. It is a technique that combines the Hollow Purple, the Reverse Red, and the Amplify Blue, and creates a new space that is neither positive nor negative, neither finite nor infinite, neither real nor unreal. It is a technique that transcends the boundaries of space and creates a phenomenon that defies logic and reason. It is the ultimate technique, the ultimate attack. Do you understand? The boy shook his head. No, I don't. How can you combine those techniques? How can you create such a space? What does it do? Gojo smiled. You don't have to understand. You just have to see. I'm going to use the Hollow Purple on that mountain. See that mountain? It is a massive object made of positive space. It has a shape, a size, a weight, a color, a texture. It is a normal mountain. But what if I use the Hollow Purple on it? What do you think will happen? The boy looked at the mountain and tried to guess. Will it disappear? Or explode? Or change? Or move? Gojo shook his head. No, those are not the effects of the Hollow Purple. The Hollow Purple does something else. Something more. Something beyond. Gojo pointed his finger at a huge boulder and activated the Hollow Purple. He combined the Reverse Red and the Amplify Blue and created a new space that was neither positive nor negative, neither finite nor infinite, neither real nor unreal. He created a phenomenon that transcended the boundaries of space and defied logic and reason. He created a purple flash that engulfed the boulder and everything around it. See that? I used the Hollow Purple on the boulder and created a purple flash. I transcended the boundaries of space and created a phenomenon that defies logic and reason. This is the third and final technique of the Limitless, the Hollow Purple. It is a technique that combines the Reverse Red and the Amplify Blue and creates a new space that is neither positive nor negative, neither finite nor infinite, neither real nor unreal. Do you understand? The boy nodded as his brain processed the data. Good, because you don't need to understand. You just need to use it. And that's what I'm going to teach you next. How to use the Hollow Purple and how to master the Limitless. Are you ready, kid? The boy nodded, his eyes shining with determination and excitement. Good. Then let's begin. Today, you will learn the true meaning of the Limitless and the infinity, the core of our cursed technique. Gojo smiled and ruffled the boy's hair. And you will become the strongest jujitsu sorcerer in the world, he added mentally. Come on, kid. Follow me. The real training starts now. Yuji, Nobara, and Megumi were on a mission to investigate a series of curses in a small town. They decided to take a break and visit a local manga shop that had a large collection of Naruto volumes. Wow, look at all these books, Yuji exclaimed, picking up a random volume. I've always wanted to read Naruto, but I never had the chance. You've never read Naruto? Nobara asked, raising an eyebrow. How can you call yourself a shonen fan? I know, it's a classic. But I was too busy training and fighting curses, you know? Yuji defended himself. Well, you're missing out. Naruto is one of the best manga ever. It has everything: action, comedy, drama, romance, friendship, ninjas. Nobara gushed. Ninjas? Megumi repeated, looking bored. That sounds lame. What? How can you say that? Ninjas are awesome, Yuji argued. No, they're not. They're just people who wear masks and throw kunai. They're nothing compared to sorcerers, Megumi said. That's not true. Ninjas have amazing abilities, like chakra, jutsu, and summoning. They can do things that sorcerers can't, Yuji countered. Like what? Megumi challenged. Like, Yuji racked his brain, trying to remember what he had seen in the anime. Like, Rasengan. Rasengan? Megumi asked. Yeah, Rasengan. It's a powerful technique that Naruto's dad invented. It's a ball of spinning chakra that can blast through anything, Yuji explained. Sounds like a simple blast of cursed energy to me. Megumi shrugged. No, it's not. It's way cooler. Here, let me show you, Yuji said, holding his hand out. He concentrated his cursed energy and tried to shape it into a ball. He then started to spin it rapidly, making a buzzing sound. What are you doing? Nobara asked, watching him curiously. I'm doing Rasengan. See, Yuji said, proudly showing his hand. It looked like a small, fuzzy ball of light. That's not Rasengan. That's just a ball of cursed energy. You're not spinning it fast enough, Nobara said. I am too. It's hard, okay? Naruto had to train for a long time to master it, Yuji said. Whatever. It still looks lame, Megumi said. It's not lame. It's awesome. Watch this, Yuji said, running towards a nearby shelf. He aimed his hand at a stack of books and shouted, Rasengan. He slammed his hand into the books, expecting them to fly away. Instead, he felt a sharp pain in his palm and heard a loud thud. He looked at his hand and saw that it was bleeding. He had pierced his skin with the sharp edges of the books. Ow, 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 Yuji cried, clutching his hand. Idiot, Megumi said, rolling his eyes. Are you okay? Nobara asked, rushing to his side. I'm fine. It's just a scratch, Yuji said, trying to act tough. Let me see, idiot, Nobara said, grabbing his hand. She examined his wound and frowned. You need to disinfect this. Come on, let's go to the bathroom. She dragged him away, leaving Megumi alone. He sighed and picked up a Naruto volume. He flipped through the pages and saw a scene where Naruto was fighting Sasuke. He read the dialogue and saw that they were talking about their bond, their rivalry, and their destiny. He felt a pang of emotion in his chest. He remembered his own bond with his sister, his rivalry with Yuji, and his destiny as a Zenin. He wondered if he could ever understand Naruto's feelings, or if Naruto could ever understand his. He closed the book and put it back on the shelf. He decided that Naruto was not lame, but it was not for him. He preferred to read something more realistic, like Death Note. He walked to the other section of the shop and looked for a copy of Death Note. He found one and opened it. He saw a scene where Light was writing names in the notebook. He read the dialogue and saw that he was talking about his justice, his intelligence, and his godhood. He felt a surge of admiration in his mind. He respected Light's logic, his strategy, and his ambition. He wondered if he could ever be like Light, or if Light could ever be like him. He smiled and kept reading. He decided that Death Note was not realistic, but it was for him. He liked to read something more challenging, like Death Note. But something in Naruto manga reminded him of Tennodakyum Gojo. Databeo, ramen nicknames. In the dimly lit chamber of shadows, for figures loomed, their auras pulsating with dark intent. Kenjaku, also known as Geto, the mastermind behind the sinister scheme, stood at the forefront, his piercing gaze holding the attention of his fellow cursed spirits, Jogo, Hanami, and Mahito. The air crackled with anticipation as they gathered to discuss their nefarious plan to unleash chaos upon Shibuya and seal the legendary sorcerer Satoru Gojo. Kenjaku's voice cut through the silence like a blade through flesh, each word dripping with malice and calculation. So, he began, his tone commanding obedience. The time has come to strike fear into the hearts of humanity. Shibuya shall be our stage, and chaos our symphony. Jogo, his flames flickering in agreement, nodded fervently. Yes, let us engulf the streets in fire and blood. None shall dare oppose us. Hanami, the embodiment of nature's fury, spoke next, vines twisting around their form in eager anticipation. The concrete jungle shall tremble beneath the might of our onslaught. The very earth will rise to aid us. Mahito, his unsettling visage contorted into a grin, interjected with a voice that sent shivers down even the stoutest spine. And amidst the chaos, we shall weave our threads of despair. Every soul shall be touched by the hand of fear, and none shall find solace in the darkness. Kinjaku's eyes gleamed with satisfaction as his comrades echoed his sentiments, their unity a testament to their shared desire for destruction. But our ultimate prize, he continued, his voice lowering to a dangerous whisper, lies in the capture of Satoru Gojo. With him sealed away, the balance of power will shift in our favor. The age of curses shall dawn anew. Jogo's flames danced with anticipation, casting eerie shadows across the chamber. Gojo may be powerful, but he is not invincible. Together, we shall overwhelm him and claim victory. Hanami's vines tightened around their form, a silent promise of nature's wrath. He may wield the might of sorcery, but even the strongest tree can be felled by a well-placed strike. Mahito's grin widened, his eyes alight with sadistic glee. And when we have him in our grasp, we shall strip away his defenses and revel in his suffering. His defeat shall serve as a warning to all who dare oppose us. With their plan laid bare, the four cursed spirits stood united, their resolve unshakable and their thirst for chaos insatiable. Shibuya would soon bear witness to their malevolent glory, and Satoru Gojo would fall before their might, his fate sealed by their dark design. The stage was set, and the curtain about to rise on a tale of terror and triumph. In the mystical realm of caffeinated destiny, where the aroma of freshly brewed potions danced through the air, Naruto, the spiky-haired wonder, found himself trailing after Satoru, the great uncle. The older man's gait was deliberate, as if he carried secrets in the folds of his apron. "Where are we going, old man?" Naruto's impatience bubbled forth like an over-caffeinated espresso machine. His sneakers squeaked on the polished floor, echoing through the cozy cafe. "Just wait. Almost there," Satoru replied cryptically, his eyes twinkling behind round spectacles. He pushed open the cafe's door, revealing a tableau of destiny, a certain table bathed in golden sunlight. Naruto squinted, his six eyes narrowing at the sight. And there, perched upon a chair like a mythical creature who'd traded his wings for a caffeine addiction, sat a blond man. His blue shirt clung to his chest like a loyal friend, and his cream-colored pants whispered secrets of comfort. "Who are you?" Naruto blurted out, plopping down on the chair opposite the enigmatic stranger. The man's expression remained as blank as an unsweetened latte. "Naruchan," Satoru's voice dripped with mischief. "Meet my good friend, Nanami Kento. Nanami, this is my cute little genius nephew, Tenodakyun Gojo. But you can call him Naruto. Say hi to each other." Nanami adjusted his sunglasses, the world reflected in their dark lenses. "Hello, Naruto-kun," he drawled, as if sipping on a rare blend. "I hope we can get along." Naruto leaned back, his grin as wide as the Grand Canyon. "Hello, weird glass-wearing, stone-faced guy." His words were a playful jab, like a cinnamon stick stirring a cup of chai. "That's the spirit." Satoru's laughter erupted like a frothy cappuccino. "Satoru, did your nephew just disrespect me?" Nanami tilted his glasses. Nanami's gaze remained unyielding. "Did I say that out loud?" Naruto scratched his head, feigning innocence. Maybe. It just slipped out," Naruto confessed. "Hope you won't take it to heart, Sunglass Man." Nanami raised an eyebrow. "An improvement, indeed. But call me by my name." "K." Naruto turned to Satoru, eyes wide. "Why are we here again? Is this some secret coffee society?" Satoru leaned in, his voice conspiratorial. "He's going to be your new sensei." "Huh?" Naruto's brain short-circuited. "You are dumping me, old man." "You didn't tell him anything, huh?" Nanami sighed, as if dealing with a caffeine-induced headache. "Naruto-kun, get ready for missions. With me." Chapter 8. Demon vs. Monster. In the shadowed annals of Jujutsu's forgotten past, there exists a whispered legend, the Child of Prophecy. Centuries ago, Master Kush Sarito, the venerable architect of Japan's arcane jujutsu laws, was visited by an enigmatic dream. Within its veiled folds, he glimpsed a foreboding future, a world teetering on the precipice of revelation. Cursed spirits, once concealed in the shrouds of obscurity, would emerge into the harsh light of day. Jujutsu sorcerers, their powers both mystical and perilous, would stride forth, their destinies entwined with chaos and upheaval. But the heart of this prophecy harbored a darker secret, an apostate among the sorcerers, a traitor born from Sarito's own tutelage. This malevolent sorcerer would ignite cataclysmic flames, scorching the earth and staining it crimson. Hundreds of thousands would perish, their souls adrift in the tempest of malevolence. Millions more would wander, bereft of home and hope. Master Kush Sarito's legacy rested upon 3 disciples, each a constellation of fate. His first student, Ryaman Sukuna, once a prodigious student, became a monstrous aberration. His arrogance unbridled, he reveled in the slaughter of innocents. Thousands fell beneath his wrath, their cries echoing through the ages. The sorcerers rallied, their unity forged in desperation. They sundered Sukuna's essence into 20 fragments, his fingers, and bound them in cryptic seals. Sarito's only female student, Tenjin, the silent sentinel, her duty etched in stone. She stood as guardian of Japan's mystical barrier, her gaze fixed on the unseen horrors that prowled beyond. But her mandate was clear: no interference in the affairs of jujutsu, for fear that even she, too, might succumb to the shadows. But his favorite student was neither Tenjin nor Sukuna. It was Kenjaku. Kenjaku, the fallen star. Once hailed as the brightest of Sarito's pupils, he vanished into the labyrinthine folds of betrayal. His footsteps echoed in whispers, a phantom haunting the edges of memory. None glimpsed his face again. Somewhere in the world, a child will be born with eyes that will pierce the sky. A child who will lose everything and gain the power to shape everything. A child whose fate will be a mystery, a paradox, a riddle. Will they be a savior or a destroyer? A rebel or a tyrant? Kenjaku, the renegade sorcerer, will leave behind his kin and his creed, driven by a single obsession: to find the child and speak to them, to unravel the enigma of the Child of Prophecy, to understand cursed energy to the atomic level. But the Child of Prophecy will be hidden, their identity shrouded by ages and intrigues. The world will wait, anxious and hopeful, for the next twist in this secret epic, a story of magic, martyrdom, and the phantom who will elude the grasp of destiny. The darkest of Heian era. Right, Sachiko. Nanami and Satoru's nephew, Naruto, were walking in a crowded mall, looking for a place to eat. "Sunglass Sensei, can I ask you something?" Naruto said, as they passed by a bookstore. "Sure, what is it?" Nanami said, glancing at the books on display. "What are curses exactly? I mean, I know they are bad, and we have to exorcise them, but I want to know more accurately." Nanami sighed. He knew Naruto was curious, and he wanted to help him, but he also knew that explaining curses was not an easy task. Curses were complex and mysterious phenomena that defied common sense and logic. They were the result of the distortion of reality, caused by the accumulation of negative emotions and energy in certain places or objects. They were made of cursed energy, a type of energy that was invisible and intangible to normal people, but could be seen and manipulated by jujutsu sorcerers. They had different shapes, sizes, and abilities, depending on the source and the amount of cursed energy they possessed. They were dangerous and unpredictable, and could harm or kill anyone who came in contact with them. "Curses are complicated," Nanami said, trying to find a simple way to explain. "They are not natural, but they are not unnatural either. They are not alive, but they are not dead either. They are not real, but they are not unreal either. They are the product of the imbalance of the world, the manifestation of the negative aspects of human nature. They are the enemies of jujutsu sorcerers, the threats to the peace and order of society. They are the things that we have to fight and eliminate, no matter what." Naruto nodded, but he looked confused. He wanted to understand more, but he felt overwhelmed by the information. He wondered if he would ever be able to master jujitsu. Sunglass Sensei, how do you fight curses? How do you exorcise them? Naruto asked as they entered a food court. Nanami looked around and spotted a table near a window. He gestured for Naruto to follow him, and they sat down. He took out his wallet and handed Naruto some money. Let's go and buy us some food. I'll explain while we eat, Nanami said. Naruto took the money and ran to the nearest stall. He ordered 2 burgers and 2 drinks and returned to the table. He gave Nanami his food and sat down. He opened his burger and took a bite. He waited for Nanami to speak. Nanami opened his burger and took a bite. He swallowed and cleared his throat. To fight curses, you need to use cursed energy, Nanami said. Cursed energy is the energy that jujitsu sorcerers use to perform jujitsu, the art of manipulating reality. Cursed energy is similar to curses, but it is different. Curses are the result of the excess of cursed energy, while cursed energy is the result of the control of cursed energy. Curses are the problem, while cursed energy is the solution. Do you understand? Naruto nodded, but he looked doubtful. He wondered if he was following Nanami's words, or if he was just nodding to be polite. Cursed energy is the energy that flows in your body and in the world. It is the energy that connects you to the world and the world to you. It is the energy that you can use to change the world, and the world can use to change you. It is the energy that you can see with your eyes and feel with your skin. It is the energy that you can shape with your mind and release with your hands. It is the energy that you can use to create jujitsu techniques, the tools that you use to fight curses. Do you understand? Naruto nodded, but he looked puzzled. He wondered if he was seeing and feeling cursed energy, or if he was just imagining it. Jujitsu techniques are the expressions of cursed energy, the forms that cursed energy takes. They are the weapons that you use to attack curses, and the shields that you use to defend yourself from curses. They are the skills that you learn to master jujitsu, and the abilities that you develop to improve jujitsu. They are the methods that you use to exorcise curses, and the ways that you use to exercise cursed energy. Do you understand? Naruto nodded, but he looked curious. He wondered if he had any jujitsu techniques, or if he was just using brute force. There are many types of jujitsu techniques, depending on the source, the nature, and the purpose of cursed energy. There are innate techniques, which are the techniques that you are born with, and that are unique to you. There are inherited techniques, which are the techniques that you inherit from your family, and that are shared by your bloodline. There are learned techniques, which are the techniques that you learn from others, and that are common to many. There are simple techniques, which are the techniques that are easy to use, and that are basic to jujitsu. There are complex techniques, which are the techniques that are hard to use, and that are advanced to jujitsu. There are offensive techniques, which are the techniques that are used to damage curses, and that are aggressive to jujitsu. There are defensive techniques, which are the techniques that are used to protect yourself from curses, and that are passive to jujitsu. There are supportive techniques, which are the techniques that are used to assist yourself or others in jujitsu, and that are auxiliary to jujitsu. Do you understand? Naruto nodded, but he looked amazed. He wondered if he could learn all those types of techniques. The most important thing to remember about jujitsu techniques is that they are not fixed, but flexible. They are not static, but dynamic. They are not rigid, but adaptable. They are not absolute, but relative. They are not the same, but different. They are not the end, but the means. They are not the goal, but the process. They are not the answer, but the question. Do you understand? Naruto nodded, but he looked confused. He wondered if he was understanding anything, or if he was just confused by everything. Nanami smiled and finished his burger. He wiped his mouth with a napkin and drank his drink. He looked at Naruto and saw the confusion and curiosity in his eyes. He knew he had given him a lot of information, and he knew he had not explained everything. He knew he had only scratched the surface of jujitsu, and he knew he had more to teach him. He knew he had a long way to go, and he knew he had a lot of work to do. But he also knew he had a good student, and he knew he had a bright future. He knew he had a potential, and he knew he had a hope. Sunglass Man, I have more questions, Naruto said, raising his hand. Nanami nodded and smiled. Of course you do, kid. And I have more answers. But not now. Now we have to go? We have some work to do. We have to exorcise some curses. Naruto nodded and smiled. Okay, let's go. Let's exorcise some curses. Do we really have to? Naruto pouted. Let's go, kid. Nanami repeated. Let's exorcise some curses. Naruto sighed. They got up from the table and left the food court. They walked through the mall and headed to the exit. They blended in with the crowd and looked like normal people. But they were not normal people. They were jujitsu sorcerers. They were the ones who fought curses and protected the world. They were the ones who used jujitsu and manipulated reality. They were the ones who understood curses and exorcised them. They were the ones who lived in the shadows and shone in the dark. They were the ones who were complicated and simple. They were the ones who were limitless and infinite. They were the ones who were Jujutsu Kaisen. In the dimly lit alleyways of Tokyo, the air was thick with the malevolent aura of curses. Mahito, with his twisted grin, roamed with a singular purpose: to collect humans for his nefarious plans. Unbeknownst to him, Kinto Nanami, a stoic and determined jujitsu sorcerer, was on his trail, exorcising low-grade curses with methodical precision. Nanami was not alone a few moments ago, as Tennodakyum Gojo or Naruto was with him. The boy was tired, and Nanami decided to put him in a nearby daycare to rest, much to the boy's annoyance. He himself was tired, but had more than enough energy to deal with some low-grade cursed spirits. The boy had insisted that he could talk some sense into those cursed spirits and befriend them. Nanami was annoyed. Upon hearing some muffled noise, he looked into the alley from which the sound had come. Mahito and Nanami, their paths converged unexpectedly. Nanami, his eyes sharp behind his glasses, spotted Mahito. He was playing with his victims. The cursed spirit's presence was like a stain on the world, a distortion that Nanami was all too eager to cleanse. Mahito turned, his curiosity piqued by the sorcerer's confident stance. The ratio jujitsu sorcerer comes to play, Mahito taunted, his voice echoing off the walls. Shall we finish what we had started? Nanami didn't rise to the bait. He was tired from exorcising curses all day long. He didn't have much strength left. I was here to exorcise low-level curses. Didn't think that I'll be seeing any lower than that. You, Mahito. Your existence is a threat to the natural order, he declared, his cursed energy beginning to flow like a silent river. I shall exorcise you here. Really? Mahito licked his hand, which turned into a blade. Let's curse each other, then. Nanami, a man of discipline and precision, stood tall. His eyes were sharp, focused, and full of determination. His hands were steady, gripping the hilt of his weapon with a firmness that spoke of countless hours of practice. His posture was relaxed yet alert, a testament to his years of training. He was a picture of calm, a stark contrast to the chaotic energy that radiated from Mahito. Mahito, on the other hand, was a creature of chaos. His wild hair framed a face that was twisted into a crazed grin. His eyes gleamed with malice, his fingers twitching with anticipation. He was unpredictable, a fact that Nanami was well aware of. Mahito thrived on chaos, his movements erratic and his attacks unorthodox. The silence was deafening as they circled each other, each waiting for the other to make the first move. The tension was palpable, a tangible force that seemed to electrify the air around them. It was a standoff, a moment of calm before the storm. With a sudden burst of movement, Mahito lunged forward. His attack was as erratic as his personality, a flurry of strikes aimed at Nanami. But Nanami was ready. He parried the attack with a swift, precise movement, his years of training evident in his fluid motions. The fight was a dance, a deadly ballet of strikes and parries. It was a clash of styles, Nanami's precision against Mahito's unpredictability. Each move was met with a countermove, each attack with a defense. The alley echoed with the sounds of their battle, the clash of metal against metal, the grunt of exertion, the hiss of pain. Despite Mahito's chaotic energy, Nanami held his ground. His movements were calculated, his attacks precise. He was a rock amidst a storm, unyielding and steadfast. His discipline was his strength, his precision, his weapon. Nanami's attacks were a symphony of precision and power, each strike a testament to his years of rigorous training and unwavering dedication. Yet, Mahito proved to be a formidable adversary, his body morphing into grotesque shapes to evade Nanami's relentless onslaught. "Your efforts are futile, Nanami," Mahito taunted, his voice dripping with scorn. "Humans are nothing more than clay for us to mold." Unfazed by Mahito's derision, Nanami retorted, "It's my sworn duty to protect these clay figures from abominations like you." His blade cut through the air, its path illuminated by the glow of his cursed energy. Nanami's unique technique, the ratio technique, allowed him to create weak points on any object or being, rendering them vulnerable to his attacks. He exploited this to his advantage, targeting the areas on Mahito's body that seemed most unstable during his grotesque transformations. Sensing the tide of the battle shifting against him, Mahito unleashed a surge of cursed energy, conjuring a horde of transfigured humans to swarm Nanami. But Nanami remained undeterred, his blade dancing a deadly ballet, slicing through each monstrous creation that dared to approach him. "You're losing your touch," Mahito sneered, appearing behind Nanami. "Idle transfiguration." Nanami braced himself for the impending attack, his breath hitching in his throat. But the expected blow never came. He felt as if he had teleported with Satoru for a moment. Confusion washed over him, then realization dawned. A new presence had entered the battlefield, a presence that was impossible to ignore. The aura of the one and only Grand Grade Sorcerer in training. Tennodaikume Gojo, also known to the world as Naruto, had arrived. "You have 13 missed calls from Satoru Gojo." New message from Satoru received. Jujutsu chat. "Satoru Gojo is online." "You, what do you want?" Satoru. Is my junior mad at me?" "You, get to the point. I do not have as much free time as you." Satoru, always so formal. Sad face. "Anyway, I want you to take my nephew on missions." "You, I refuse." Satoru, he has the 6 eyes. An evolved version. "You, carry on." Satoru, his mother and father are dead and are now cursed spirits bound to him. "You, how old is he?" Satoru, 6 next week. "You, it's too reckless." Satoru, the higher-ups sent an assassin to kill him. "You what?" Satoru, the boy is the danger to both himself and everyone around him. "You, but he is too young for missions." Satoru, he has the strength to kill, but is too soft. "You, well, that's a child you were talking about." Satoru, no, try to understand. The boy believes that not all cursed spirits are bad. Heck, he even wants to befriend them. "You what?" Satoru, take him to some missions, show him the dark side of the cursed spirits. "You, I will consider this. However, only low-level missions, no higher than 3rd grade. Satoru, hee, I knew I could count on you, my junior. "You, anyways, how strong is the child?" Satoru, well, he was sleeping in the daycare when he felt a malicious, cursed energy spike from somewhere close. He woke up immediately and ran towards the door and went away before any of the caretakers could say anything. He sprinted like his life was depending on it. Within a few seconds, he was there. By the time he reached the place, he was not sad. He was angry. He was furious. For the first time as Tennodaikume Gojo, Naruto felt something very foreign, hate. He looked at the grinning form of a stitch-faced person, a cursed spirit, grinning at him. In a dimly lit alley, the cobblestones slick with rain, Naruto, a mere 5-year-old, stood defiantly before the sinister figure of Mahito. His alabaster hair clung to his forehead, raindrops tracing rivulets down his pale cheeks. But appearances were deceiving. This child harbored a power beyond imagination. But he must not express his inner thoughts. Naruto was not wearing his blindfold over his eyes. His keen eyes scanned the area and saw the mutilated corpses of people and a bruised body of his current sensei, Nanami Kento. Help me. A half-dead creature. Human said in a pleading tune before a pale hand grabbed the head of it and crushed it. 6 eyes, they called it, a rare and forbidden ability that transcended the mortal realm. Naruto's irises glowed with an otherworldly light, each eye a portal to realms unseen. Yet, unlike the shinobi of legend, he lacked the familiar arsenal of chakra and ninjutsu. Instead, He wielded something darker, more primal, cursed energy. Mahito sneered, his twisted features contorting with malice. "What can a child do against me?" he taunted, tendrils of cursed energy writhing around his fingers. Naruto's response was a silent one. He didn't need words. His intent crackled in the air. The alley trembled, shadows coalescing into spectral forms. The very fabric of reality quivered as Naruto tapped into the forbidden wellspring within him. Mahito, his features twisted into a sneer of contempt, taunted Naruto. "Tell me, what can a mere child do against me?" His voice was a hiss of malice that echoed off the damp walls of the alley. Tendrils of cursed energy writhed around his fingers like serpents ready to strike. Naruto's response was not verbal, but palpable. He didn't need words. His intent crackled in the air, a silent promise of the storm to come. The alley trembled, shadows coalescing into spectral forms. The very fabric of reality quivered as Naruto tapped into the forbidden wellspring within him, a power so ancient and vast it made the earth beneath them pulse in rhythm. Mahito lunged, his cursed energy lashing out like serpents. But Naruto sidestepped effortlessly, his movements fluid and precise. He didn't dodge, he flowed. Each step resonated with ancient power, and the alley itself seemed to pulse in rhythm. Their clash was cataclysmic. Mahito's attacks met empty air, while Naruto's retaliation was swift and unyielding. Cursed energy surged, tearing through the veil between worlds. Reality buckled, and the things around them turned to ash. Mahito sneered, his voice a hiss of malice. "Foolish child, do you think your tricks can beat me? I am beyond your mortal comprehension." "And why?" Mahito spat, desperation etching lines on his face. "And why fight for a mere human? I feel like you aren't even one." Naruto's eyes blazed. "Because Nanami Kinto deserves better, everyone does," he replied, his voice echoing with centuries of determination. "Because even a child can defy fate." Mahito laughed, and then he turned into a rhinoceros and ran towards the boy. And so they continued, a 5-year-old boy and a cursed spirit. The alley bore witness to their clash, its walls scarred by energies beyond comprehension. Naruto's white hair danced in the tempest, and his 6 eyes blazed like dying stars. "You don't understand the fun of seeing these pathetic so-called humans suffer, child," Mahito yelled. The battle continued. Naruto summoned a sphere of spiraling energy formed in his palm, its bright blue light illuminating the alley. "You're wrong. It's you who doesn't understand," Naruto declared, launching the attack. Cursed technique, Blue Rasengan. Mahito wasn't quick enough to dodge it. The energy ball hit him in his chest, sending him a few meters away. The cursed spirit gave himself no leisure to moan in pain as he produced a blade with his hands and jumped at Naruto. Mahito countered with his own dark powers, but Naruto was relentless. He invoked another attack, Tsunade style, Black Flash, his fist crackling with a crimson-black aura. "This is the strength of those who believe in hope," he shouted, his punch landing with a thunderous impact. The cursed spirit recoiled, then, in desperation, decided to expand his domain. Domain expansion, self-embodiment of perfection. Huge hands upon hands appeared out of nowhere, overlapping one another, creating a synchronized motion that was both beautiful and sinister. "You cannot touch me here. I am untouchable," Mahito boasted, his voice echoing in the distorted space. "Your infinity barrier doesn't work here," Mahito then yelled. "Idle transfiguration." Pin drop silence. Naruto raised an eyebrow. "Is that all? Believe me, I am not impressed." Mahito yelled in frustration. The boy's infinity barrier was not working here. Then why can't he feel his soul? Wait. He can feel it, but can't understand it. What are why you? He mustered all his courage to vocalize those words. The answer that he got was unpredicted. "A person who wants to understand who he is," Naruto said. "A demon? A Jinchuriki? A monster? A child? A shinobi? A sorcerer? What am I? What?" Naruto didn't say anything. Instead, he raised his hands and made a dragon seal. Domain expansion. Mahito looked around in awe. "What? Where's the attack? Why is his domain not shattering?" "Oh, His eyes widened in horror. A few days ago, in the heart of Tokyo, within the walls of the Tokyo Metropolitan Magic Technical School, Tenidakume Gojo found himself in a quiet room with Satoru Gojo. The room was simple, with a single table and 2 chairs. It was here that they often discussed the complexities of jujitsu, away from the prying eyes of the other students. Old man sensei, Naruto began, his voice steady despite the nervousness he felt. I've been thinking about domain expansion. That tree cursed that day, try to use it that day. Satoru looked at him, his eyes hidden behind the bandages that always covered his face. There was a moment of silence before he responded. Domain expansion, huh? That's a big step, Naruto. Naruto nodded, his determination clear. I know it's advanced, but I want to learn. I want to become stronger. Satoru studied him for a moment before leaning back in his chair. All right, he said finally. Let's talk about domain expansion. And so, they delved into the intricacies of domain expansion, Satoru explaining the concept with a clarity that only he could provide. He spoke of the immense concentration required, the understanding of one's own cursed energy, and the dangers of incomplete expansion. Naruto listened, absorbing every word. He asked questions, sought clarifications, and took mental notes. It was a lot to take in, but he was determined to understand. Satoru leaned forward, his hands clasped together on the table. Domain expansion, he began, is the pinnacle of jujitsu techniques. It's not something that can be learned overnight. He paused, ensuring Naruto was following along. To use domain expansion, you need to have a deep understanding of your own cursed energy. It's about creating a space where your cursed technique is guaranteed to hit. It's like creating your own world, your own domain. Satoru picked up a piece of chalk and began to draw on the blackboard. He sketched a circle representing the domain and a stick figure representing the jujitsu sorcerer. When you use domain expansion, you're essentially enveloping your opponent in your domain. Inside this space, your attacks are unavoidable. He drew a series of lines from the stick figure to the edge of the circle, representing the attacks. However, creating a domain requires a huge amount of cursed energy. It's not something you can use lightly. And if your domain is incomplete, it can be invaded or even taken over by a stronger opponent. Satoru put down the chalk and turned back to Naruto. The key to domain expansion is control. You need to be able to control your cursed energy to the point where you can shape it into a domain. And you need to be able to maintain that control even in the heat of battle. He leaned back in his chair, his explanation complete. It's a difficult technique, Naruto, but I believe you have the potential to master it. Hey, old man, Naruto said. Mom's innate technique was to show people their deepest desire, right? And you said it's also my innate technique. Yep. Both his mother and uncle spoke in unison, one sitting inside his mind while the other one sitting in front of him. What if I use reversal red on it after amplifying it with blue? Naruto asked with a finger on his chin. Satoru grinned. Dream becomes a violet nightmare. Tsukuyami. And with that, Mahito's domain crumbled, as well as Mahito. Naruto's eyes, violet with the power of the 6 eyes, locked onto Mahito's form. With a swift motion, he activated domain, casting both himself and Mahito into an ethereal world created from the darkest corners of the mind. Here, seconds stretched into days, and reality was at the mercy of Naruto's will. Surprise, Naruto said, but Mahito couldn't see him anywhere. This is an incomplete technique. Although, in here, I am in control. Believe it. From Mahito's perspective, being trapped inside Naruto's Tsukuyami was an utterly disorienting and harrowing experience. As a master of soul manipulation himself, Mahito was accustomed to being in control, but within this world, all control was stripped away. Imagine Mahito suddenly finding himself in a world that defies the laws of physics and reason. The landscape around him shifts constantly. Now he's in a vast desert, now a dense forest, now floating in an endless void. Time warps and bends. Seconds stretch into hours, and hours shrink into moments. He witnessed his own body twisting and morphing into grotesque forms, feeling every sensation as if it were real, yet unable to stop or even understand it. In Tsukuyami, Naruto doesn't just attack the body. He attacks the very essence of the soul. For Mahito, it looked like living through a nightmare from which there is no awakening, a series of events that challenge his identity and existence. It's a place where Naruto's will is absolute, and Mahito is nothing but a pawn in a twisted game of the mind. Mahito, a being of cursed energy, found himself in a human body, vulnerable and confused. Naruto, with a mere glance, transfigured Mahito's form, twisting it into shapes and beings far from its original essence. Each transformation was more harrowing than the last, a grotesque parade of Mahito's potential forms. And just as Mahito began to comprehend his new shape, Naruto would rewind the illusion, subjecting him to torment all over again. Days passed in the span of heartbeats, each cycle stripping away layers of Mahito's confidence and sanity. The cursed spirit's shock turned to horror as he realized the depth of Naruto's domain. It was a relentless assault on his very being, a punishment that transcended physical pain and delved into the core of his cursed core. The psychological impact is immense. Mahito, who thrives on the fear and pain of others, is now the one experiencing fear and confusion. He's bombarded with images and scenarios designed to break his spirit, each one more intense than the last. It's a relentless assault on his psyche, leaving him to question what is real and what is illusion. As the domain finally shattered, Mahito was left gasping on the battlefield, his mind a tangle of fear and disbelief. Naruto stood over him, his eyes still glowing with the power of his domain. The cursed spirit had been broken, not by brute force, but by the sheer psychological dominance of Naruto's Tsukuyomi. Mahito is left with more than just the memory of pain and confusion. He is left with doubt, with the unsettling notion that his abilities, his very identity, might be built on a foundation less solid than he had ever imagined. Naruto's voice was soft but firm. I've shown you the power of the human spirit, something you'll never understand. Monster. Mahito yelled as liquids were coming down his eyes. He crawled backwards. Naruto's eyes narrowed, a silent vow to conclude the chaos that had unfurled. This charade has gone on long enough, he murmured, a surge of determination stealing his voice. Let's put an end to it. With a swift motion, chakra coalesced in his palm, a mesmerizing dance of cursed energy that spiraled into a sphere of ominous purple, adorned with ethereal rings. Mahito, the special grade cursed spirit, gazed upon the spectacle, his usual smirk long replaced by a horrified look. Hollow style, purple Rasengan, Naruto announced, the name of the technique echoing like a harbinger of doom. Propelled by an unseen force, the Rasengan hurtled towards Mahito, a blur of violet fury. It struck with the ferocity of a tempest, ravaging the space where it landed and tearing through the fabric of Mahito's existence. The impact sent him reeling into the alley's wall, his soul's integrity compromised by the technique's voracious appetite. How can you obliterate a fragment of my soul? Mahito gasped, his voice a mix of pain and incredulity. Soul. Naruto's voice was a whisper, yet it carried the weight of untold secrets. The entities you've toyed with, they are nothing but replicas of what you believe them to be. What? Naruto reveals a profound truth to Mahito. The forms you believed you were manipulating, Naruto says with a calm yet piercing gaze, were not souls. They were mere shadows, echoes of what you perceived as the soul. Mahito, still reeling from the relentless domain, tries to process this revelation. In his arrogance, he had thought himself the ultimate manipulator of life's essence. But Naruto's words cut deeper than any physical wound. Your power, Naruto continues, is limited to the surface, to the transient. You touch something beautiful, but it's not the soul. You do not understand its depths, its resilience. The cursed spirit's mind races, his own cursed technique called into question. Has his understanding been so superficial? Naruto's domain was not just a trap, but a lesson, a demonstration of the true nature of power and perception. Those are just cores, continued the boy. The core of cursed energy. You are so confused that you can't differentiate between soul and a curse energy core. Obviously, it is not your fault as no one can understand the soul. Naruto smiled, his very form looking like a professor of wisdom talking with an ignorant child. You are a cursed spirit. A spirit, just a manifestation of emotion. And you have no soul. Mahito's eyes widened and he muttered some incoherent words before he could say anything else. In a sudden twist, Hanami emerged, his presence as silent as the growing flora he commands. With a flourish of his hand, the alleyway transforms into a labyrinth of verdant life. Vines creep and flowers bloom with unnatural speed, a living barrier between Naruto and his quarry. Naruto, momentarily taken aback by this unexpected intervention, finds his attention ensnared by the botanical mirage. Hanami seizes the opportunity, his limbs extending with the fluid grace of branches in the wind, ensnaring Mahito and retreating with the swiftness of a startled deer. The two figures vanish into the greenery, leaving Naruto alone with the rustling whispers of leaves, a fleeting reminder of the cursed spirit's solidarity and the ever-present unpredictability of their world. Naruto walked towards Nanami. "Sunglass Sensei, are you okay?" Nanami's gaze settled on the youth before him, and in the quiet of his mind, a single thought resonated. Strong was a gross understatement. Words unspoken, he acknowledged the raw, almost otherworldly power that emanated from the boy, a force so potent it bordered on the demonic. With a silent nod of respect, Nanami conceded internally to wield strength comparable to 12 fingers of Sukuna. Truly remarkable. Nanami Kinto would live another day, thanks to a child who defied the rules of existence. Naruto, the boy with 6 eyes, stood still in the alley, a beacon of hope in a world teetering on the edge of chaos. "Yes, I am fine. Let's go." Chapter 9, The Calm Before Storm. In the tranquil pre-dawn hours, Toge Inumaki, a sorcerer known for his cursed speech, found solace in the silent art of poetry. His words, though often restricted in daily life, flowed freely onto parchment, weaving verses that spoke of the jujitsu world, a realm where curses and humans intertwined in a delicate dance of power and peril. On this particular morning, as the first light of day crept through his window, Toge penned a sonnet that captured the essence of his reality. Within the shadowed veil of night's embrace, where curses lurk and twisted spirits roam, the jujitsu sorcerers take their place. To fight the darkness, far from light of home. In silence, Toge's cursed tongue finds peace. His words, though sealed, in poetry release. Each verse a battle, every rhyme a shield. Against the malevolent forces we wield. The binding vows of ancient clans hold tight, as sorcerers weave their spells with deft hands. In this hidden war, a perpetual fight for balance in these spiritually fraught lands. Yet hope glimmers like a steadfast star. In verses penned, healing wounds and scars. For in the art of words, Toge finds might. A sonnet's power in the jujitsu fight. Toge's sonnet was more than mere words. It was a testament to the struggles and triumphs of those who lived alongside curses. Each line was a tribute to the resilience of the human spirit and the unwavering courage of the sorcerers who stood as humanity's shield. As the sun rose higher, casting a golden hue over his desk, Toge set down his quill. His poem, a mere 100 words, was concise yet profound, encapsulating a 1,000-word story within its meter and rhyme. It was his silent rebellion against the curse that bound his voice, a declaration that even in the quietest whispers, there is strength to be found. And so, with the morning's work complete, Toge folded the parchment, sealing within it the sonnet about the jujitsu world. Perhaps one day, it would find its way to another, inspiring hope and courage in a world shrouded by shadows and silence. With a mechanical hum, Mechamaru surged forward, his massive form looming ominously over the darkened area. His movements were calculated, precise, a testament to years of combat training and technological prowess. Yet Mahito, with his eerie grin and ever-shifting form, stood unfazed, a dark aura radiating from his cursed essence. Gojo was right. This does help. Fighting against humans lightens up the mood. I feel almost better now. Ah, the steel puppet approaches. Mahito's voice echoed with a chilling resonance. Let us see if your metal can withstand the touch of curses. Mekamaru's response was a low growl, the gears within him grinding with determination. He launched himself forward with thunderous force, his metallic fists poised to strike. But Mahito, agile and elusive, danced effortlessly out of harm's way, his form contorting and twisting with unnatural grace. As the confrontation escalated, the true extent of Mahito's power began to reveal itself. With a malicious grin, he unleashed waves of cursed energy, each pulse threatening to corrode the very fabric of reality. Mekamaru fought valiantly, his armor holding strong against the onslaught, but with each passing moment, he felt his strength waning. Desperation gnawed at Mekamaru's core as Mahito's relentless assault continued unabated. Try as he might, the steel giant found himself unable to gain the upper hand against his cursed adversary. With each blow, he could feel his systems faltering, his movements growing sluggish under the weight of exhaustion. Multiple times did Mekamaru think he was successful, but no, he wasn't. When Mahito used his domain expansion, Mahito was sure he had won. But Mekamaru countered it with simple domain. Then Mekamaru thought that he was successful. How wrong he was. When Mahito invaded the core of Ultimate Mekamaru and was just about to attack him with that disgusting grin of his, he thought he was done for. Except he wasn't. All of a sudden, just before Mahito was about to tear him apart, he had stopped. What? Mekamaru asked, confusion in his eyes. Why did you stop? What he got in answer was unpredicted. It's him. Mahito stuttered. The demon. Confusion consumed Mekamaru's thoughts before he felt it too. An extremely dense and potent cursed energy that did not belong to Gojo was right on the top of Ultimate Mekamaru. That old man was pranking me, the prank king. This is not teleportation, this is... A childish voice was heard before the sound of throwing up was heard. Damon, I am never teleporting again this far without practice, Databeo. Then, a pause. But where the hell am I? It's him. Mahito shouted as he sprouted wings on his back and began to fly away. The demon. Gojo, we are out of here. Ultimate Mekamaru's cameras were destroyed, so Mekamaru couldn't see what was happening outside, but he could hear. Who's there? Ugh, a ghost. The child said before the sound of thunder cracking. Was that the sound of a black flash? Mahito screamed like he was dying, which may not be entirely false. Really? Maybe I messed up your brain real bad. The child sighed. Look, you were killing people for fun. It was not my mistake, I snapped. I am willing to give you a chance. Come with me, we can talk. No, we can't. Can do. You are a demon. And you are an overgrown stitch-faced doll. Let me go. A wheezing sound was heard, which was followed by Mahito's scream. What? The child said. Where are you? Hey, who are you? Is that a ball? Hey, don't eat that. That's disgusting. You. Again, the child began to throw up. Is that miso ramen? Wasn't that Gojo? Oh no. I can smell it from here. Yeah. You should chew well, little one. It's not wise to swallow like that. Yeah, everybody says that to me. A small pause followed. Who are you? Then, a chuckle was heard. I am a free-working jujitsu sorcerer, little one. Gojo said. I was fighting that cursed spirit here. Thank you for your assistance. I guess. The child sighed. Hey, monk sorcerer, what's your name? Suguru Gojo. He chuckled. I should go now? Goodbye, little one. Mekamaru heard something from behind him. Before he could turn, darkness had consumed him. Naruto looked around and wondered where that humongous cursed energy was coming from. Then he looked below him and frowned. He instantly punched the robot and made a hole in it. He made his way to the core of it, only to find a bloody body of a teenager. Hey. He tried to heal the teenager using the reversed curse technique. Shibuya, the teenager said. 1st October. Satoru. Gojo seal. What? Later that day, Mekamaru was taken to Jujutsu High. Mekamaru was not dead, but he was in a coma. Mahito lay on the banana hammock, his eyes staring blankly at the ceiling. He felt nothing but pain and despair, as if his soul had been shattered into pieces. He had been trapped in that brat's Tsukuyami, a domain that manipulated his perception of time and reality. In that illusion, he had experienced the worst nightmare of his life. He had been forced to kill his friends, Jogo, Hanami, and Dagon, over and over again, for what seemed like an eternity. He had felt their curses, their hatred, their agony, as he stabbed, burned, and crushed them with his cursed technique. He had seen their faces, twisted with fear and betrayal, as they cursed him with their dying breaths. He had heard their screams, echoing in his ears, as they begged him to stop. He had felt their blood, splashing on his hands, as he tore them apart. He had done it all, without any control, without any remorse, without any escape. He was transformed over and over again in very painful ways. He was the artist, not art itself. He had woken up from the domain, only to find out that it had lasted for only a few seconds in the real world. He had been rescued by his friend, Hanami, who had managed to distract Naruto and flee with Mahito from his grasp. Hanami had brought him back to their hideout, where they had tried to heal his wounds and comfort him. But it was too late. The damage had been done. Mahito had lost his sanity, his will, his identity. He had become a broken shell of his former self, unable to speak, to move, to feel. He had become a victim of Naruto's cruelty, a pawn in his game. Then Geto suggested that he should go and have some fun. Mohito decided to play with Mekamaru. He was actually having fun. When he was just about to finish that machine boy, the demon appeared. Mohito was once again captured. In order to save him, Geto swallowed half of him. Jogo, Hanami, and Dagon watched over him, with sadness and anger in their eyes. They had been his friends, his comrades, his family. They had shared his vision of a world where curses ruled over humans, where they could live freely and happily. They had followed him, trusted him, loved him, and now they had lost him to a human, a demon, an enemy. They felt a surge of hatred towards Naruto, the one who had done this to him, the one who had taken him away from them. They swore to avenge him, to make him pay, to make him suffer. They decided to go after him, to find him, to kill him. "Worry not, Mahito," Jogo said. "I will personally kill that demon brat." It was a sunny day in Tokyo, and Naruto was excited. He had just turned 6 years old, and his friends from the Jujutsu High School had come to celebrate with him in his house. They were Yuji, Nobara, Megumi, Satoru, Toge, Panda, Shoko, Nanami, and Maki. They had brought him a big cake, some presents, and a lot of balloons. The boy that Naruto had rescued was being treated by Cake Butt Lady in Jujutsu High. His wounds were fatal, but he would live. He was that robot student from Kyoto that day. After saving him, he was now the third most favorite person on Miwa's list. He wondered who were the first and second. During his childhood, Naruto was very lonely in Konoha, as he was an orphan who was shunned by the villagers for being the host of the Nine Tails. He had no friends or family to celebrate his birthday with, except for the third Hokage, who was his guardian and mentor. Naruto often felt isolated and unwanted, and he craved attention and recognition. He developed a cheerful and prankster personality to cope with his loneliness, and he vowed to become the Hokage someday, so that everyone would respect him. He also found solace in seclusion, choosing to distance himself from others to ensure his own safety. But now he was not alone. "Happy birthday, Naruto," they shouted as they entered his house. Thank you," Naruto said, jumping up and down. "You guys are the best." He hugged them one by one, and then ran to the table where the cake was. It was a chocolate cake, with orange frosting and a picture of Naruto's face on it. It also had 6 candles on it, ready to be blown. "Wow, this is awesome," Naruto exclaimed. "Did you make this, Cake Butt Lady?" Shoko nodded as she inhaled from her cigarette. "Yes, I did, kid. It's your special day, after all." I love it, Naruto said, licking his lips. "Can I have a slice now?" "Not yet, Naruto-chan. You have to blow the candles first and make a wish," Satoru said. Okay, I'll do that," Naruto said, taking a deep breath. He closed his eyes and thought of his wish. He wished to protect his friends. He opened his eyes and blew the candles with all his might. "Yay, Naruto," his friends cheered. "You did it." Thank you, Naruto said, smiling widely. "Now, can I have a slice?" Sure. Here you go," Shoko said, cutting a piece of cake and putting it on a plate. She handed it to Naruto, who took a big bite. This is delicious, Naruto said, his mouth full of cake. You're the best cake butt lady. I'm glad you like it, Shoko said, patting his head before inhaling smoke from her cigarette. Everyone glared at her. Naruto finished his cake and then looked at the presents. There were 9 of them, wrapped in colorful paper and ribbons. Wow, these are for me, Naruto asked, his eyes sparkling. Of course, Naruto. They're from us, Nobara said. What are you waiting for, Naruto? Open them, Yuji said. Okay, I'll open them, Naruto said, grabbing the first present. He tore the paper and revealed a pair of orange goggles. Wow, these are cool, Naruto said, putting them on. Who gave me these? I did, Naruto, Megumi said. He was a quiet boy who used shadows and animals as his weapons. He had a pet wolf called Divine Dog, who was always by his side. Thank you, Imo and Ai-chan. They're awesome, Naruto said, admiring his reflection. You're welcome, Naruto. They suit you well, Megumi said, smiling slightly. And please, call me Fushiguro. Naruto moved on to the next present. He opened it and found a replica of something he had seen before. Wow, this is cool, Naruto said, holding it carefully. Who gave me this? I did, Naruto, Maki said. She was a tomboyish girl after all, who was skilled in using weapons and physical combat. This might not be real, but it is still very dangerous. What do you call it? Playful Cloud, Maki smirked. Thank you, Imone-chan. It's cool, Naruto said, swinging it around. You're welcome, brat. Just be careful with it, okay? Maki said, warning him. Okay, I'll be careful, Naruto said, nodding. He opened the third present and found a book. Wow, this is a book, Naruto said, flipping through the pages. Who gave me this? I did, Naruto, Nanami said as he tilted his sunglasses. Thank you, Nanami. It's nice, Naruto said, looking at the cover. It was a book about the history of the jujitsu world. You're welcome, Naruto. It's very informative. You should read it sometime, Nanami said, encouraging him. Take it as a thank you for that day for saving me. Okay, I'll read it sometime, Naruto said, putting it aside. Despite hating to read, he was still a prodigy. He opened the fourth present and found a scarf. Wow, this is a scarf, Naruto said, wrapping it around his neck. Who gave me this? Salmon, Toge said. Naruto always found him mysterious. When he asked his uncle why he was like that, he got his answer. He had a special power called cursed speech, which allowed him to control anything with his words. But a wrong word could potentially kill anyone. Naruto felt bad for him. Thank you, Color and Ai-chan. It's warm, Naruto said, feeling the fabric. Salmon, mustard leaf, Toge said, nodding. He opened the fifth present and found a stuffed animal, a fox. Wow, this is a cute fox, Naruto said, hugging it. Who gave me this? Panda waved his hand. He requested Yaga to make it for Naruto. Thank you, Panda and Ai-chan. It's cute, Naruto said, squeezing it. You're welcome, Naruto. It's fluffy, Panda said, smiling. He opened the sixth present and found a round pair of sunglasses with an orange tint. Wow, this is a pair of sunglasses, Naruto said, putting it on. Who gave me this? Me, Naruto-chan, Satoru said with a smirk. Thank you, old man. It's pretty, Naruto said, admiring it. You're welcome, Naruto-chan. It's special, Satoru said, winking. He opened the seventh present and found a poster of a famous model, No, on the face. It was Nobara's face. Everyone laughed while the teen girl blushed. Wow, this is a poster, Naruto said, unrolling it. Who gave me this? The great Nobara Kujisaki, brat, Nobara said, although she didn't seem too excited, which everyone knew was a facade. Thank you, Hammer-chan. It's cool, Naruto said, looking at it. You're welcome, kid. It's awesome, just like me, Nobara said, blushing. He opened the eighth present and found a watch. Wow, this is a watch, Naruto said, putting it on. Who gave me this? Me, Naruto, Yuji said. Thank you, Yuji and Ai-chan. It's nice, Naruto said, checking the time. You're welcome, Naruto. It's useful, Yuji said, smiling. Thank you. I love you guys, Naruto said, tears in his eyes. They spent the rest of the day playing games, telling stories, and having fun. Naruto felt like the luckiest boy in the world to have such amazing friends. He was happy, and he hoped that his happiness would last forever. Only if he knew how wrong he was. Gojo walked along the narrow path that led to Granny Ogami's hut. He had heard rumors about the old woman, who was said to be a powerful sorcerer and a master of reviving dead people's power in a living vessel. He had a special request for her, one that he hoped she could fulfill. He knocked on the door and waited. After a few moments, he heard a voice from inside. "Who is it?" "Geto Suguru. I have come to seek your help, Granny Ogami." Kinjaku walked into the dimly lit room, where an old woman was sitting on a tatami mat, surrounded by candles and incense. She looked up at him with a wary gaze, her wrinkled face showing signs of age and bitterness. "Huh?" she asked, her voice raspy and cold. "What do you want from me?" Kinjaku smiled, his eyes gleaming with malice. He bowed slightly and spoke in a polite tone. "Good evening, Granny Ogami. I am Suguru Geto. I have come to ask for your help with a very important matter." Granny Ogami narrowed her eyes and clenched her teeth. She recognized the name of Geto, the traitor who had betrayed the jujitsu world and joined forces with the cursed spirits. She had no love for him or anyone associated with him. "What do you want from me, Suguru Geto?" She spat, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "Do you want me to curse someone for you? Do you want me to sell you some of my rare and illegal items? Do you want me to join your twisted cause?" Kinjaku shook his head and chuckled. No, nothing like that. I want you to do something much simpler and much more beneficial for you. I want you to revive someone for me." Granny Ogami frowned and tilted her head. "Revive someone? Who do you want me to revive? And why should I do that for you?" Kinjaku leaned closer and whispered in her ear. "I want you to revive Toji Fushiguro, the Zenin clan's assassin, the man who killed Riko Amanai, the man who almost killed Satoru Gojo." Granny Ogami gasped and recoiled from Kinjaku. She felt a surge of fear and curiosity. She knew who Toji Fushiguro was. He was a legend among the jujitsu sorcerers, a man who had no cursed energy but could fight and kill anyone with his physical skills and cursed tools. He was also a man who had almost killed the man who had ruined her life, indirectly. She had been a strong woman who had run a dark business of trading cursed objects, cursed corpses, and cursed humans. She had connections with the underworld and had no scruples about exploiting the weak and the innocent. She had been feared and respected by many. After the birth of Satoru Gojo, the child with 6 eyes and limitless, the balance of power in the world of jujitsu had shifted. Cursed energy users like herself were forced to hide in the shadows. They had raided her place and had confiscated all her illegal goods. They had also arrested her and had sentenced her to life imprisonment in a special facility. She had lost everything, her power, her wealth, her freedom, all because of Satoru Gojo. She hated him with every fiber of her being. She wanted him to suffer, to die, to rot in hell. She wanted revenge. Gojo had faced Toji and had engaged him in a fierce battle. The fight had been so intense that it had caused a huge disturbance in the cursed energy flow of that area. "Why do you want me to revive Toji Fushiguro?" she asked, her voice trembling with emotion. "What do you plan to do with him?" Kinjaku smiled and revealed his true intention. "I want you to revive Toji Fushiguro because I want him to kill Satoru Gojo for me." Granny Ogami's eyes widened, and she felt a mix of shock and excitement. She could not believe what she was hearing. Kinjaku wanted her to revive the only man who had ever wounded Gojo, the only man who had ever made him bleed. He wanted her to revive the man who could possibly end Gojo's life. She looked at Kinjaku and saw the determination and the madness in his eyes. She realized that he was serious, that he was not joking. He had a plan that involved Toji Fushiguro and Satoru Gojo. She felt a surge of curiosity and asked, "How do you plan to do that? How do you plan to make Toji Fushiguro kill Satoru Gojo for you?" Kinjaku leaned back and explained his plan. "I have a plan that will change the world. A plan that will unleash the true potential of cursed energy and create a new era of curses. A plan that will require the sacrifice of Satoru Gojo the one who stands in my way. He told her about his plan to seal Gojo in a prison realm. She agreed to his plan and agreed to help him. She agreed to revive Toji Fushiguro and agreed to make him kill Satoru Gojo. She agreed to everything, without knowing anything. He manipulated her. He used her. He used her hatred, her grudge, her desire for revenge. He used her skills, her knowledge, her resources. He was Kenjaku, the curse of humanity, and he would stop at nothing to achieve his goal. She was Granny Ogami, the fool of sorcerers, and she would regret it to the end of her days. Kenjaku had everything ready. He had the ritual, the ingredient, the sacrifice. He had the puppet, the weapon, the tool. He had the plan, the goal, the vision. He had the power, the cunning, the secret. He was ready to revive Toji Fushiguro and to begin his final game. He was ready to create a new world and to destroy the old one. He was ready to face his destiny and to make history. He was Kenjaku, and he was unstoppable. Naruto followed his friends to the manga shop, feeling nervous and curious. Yuji, Nobara, and Inumaki had insisted that he was old enough to read manga now, so he came with them. Having nothing better to do, Megumi tagged along. Naruto scanned the shelves, looking for the manga that had his name on it. He saw titles like Bleach, One Piece, My Hero Academia, and Demon Slayer, but none of them caught his eye. He felt a tap on his shoulder and turned around to see Yuji holding a manga in his hand. "Look, Naruto, this is the one I was telling you about. It's called Naruto. It's about the son of the legendary ninja Minato Namikaze, who wants to become the Hokage, the leader of his village. It's really cool and exciting. You should read it," Yuji said, smiling. Naruto felt a surge of shock and disbelief. He took the manga from Yuji and looked at the cover. He saw a boy with blonde hair and blue eyes, wearing an orange and black jumpsuit. He had a whisker-like mark on each cheek and a headband with a leaf symbol on it. He looked exactly like Naruto. Naruto felt his heart skip a beat. He opened the manga and flipped through the pages. He saw familiar faces and scenes from his past life. He saw his friends, his enemies, his mentors, his battles, his victories, and his losses. He saw his own story, told in a different way. He felt a mix of emotions. He felt nostalgia, sadness, anger, joy, and confusion. He wondered how this was possible. How did someone know about his life? How did they turn it into a manga? How did they get it published? How did it become popular? How did no one notice that he was the same person as the protagonist? He looked up and saw that his friends were busy browsing other manga. He saw that Megumi was watching him with a curious and concerned expression. He felt guilty for lying to his other friends. He wanted to tell them the truth, but he was afraid of how they would react. He was afraid that they would think he was crazy, or that they would hate him, or that they would expose him to the world. He decided to keep his secret for now. He closed the manga and handed it back to Yuji. He forced a smile and said, "Thanks, Yuji and I-chan, but I'm not really interested in this manga. It doesn't look like my type. Maybe you can lend it to me later, if you want." Yuji shrugged and said, "Sure, no problem. But trust me, Naruto, you're missing out. This manga is awesome. You should give it a chance. Maybe you'll find something in common with the main character. He's a lot like you, you know. He's brave, loyal, funny, and determined. He never gives up on his dreams, no matter what. He's a true hero." Naruto felt a pang of irony and sadness. He wished he could tell Yuji the truth. He wished he could tell him that he was the main character. He wished he could tell him that he had given up on his dream. He wished he could tell him that he was not a hero, but a failure. He never actually became the Hokage. He had died. He nodded and said, "Maybe you're right, Yuji and I-chan. Maybe I'll like it after all. But for now, let's go and check out some other manga. I heard there's a new one called Demon Slayer. It's about swordsmen who fight demons with special powers. It sounds cool, don't you think?" Then Naruto saw another book that had a picture of a boy that looked too much like him. The book's name was Boruto Volume 1. Intrigued, he took the book and flipped some pages. "I was supposed to marry Hinata and have a son?" He flipped some more pages before stopping as he saw a picture of an adult Naruto. "Why do I look so ugly?" Naruto was on the verge of tearing the book when Megumi spoke. "Why do you read it if it annoys you?" Megumi asked. eyeing the Boruto manga in Naruto's hands with a mix of curiosity and amusement. Naruto, the spiky-haired, amethyst-eyed child, sighed dramatically. It's this protagonist, Boruto. He's a real piece of work. Thinks he can just waltz around, disrespecting his old man. It's infuriating. Yuji Itadori, overhearing the conversation, chuckled as he leaned against a bookshelf. Sounds like someone has daddy issues, he teased, earning a glare from Naruto. Nobara Kujisaki, flipping through a manga of her own, joined in. Well, Boruto's dad isn't around much. Being a ninja seems like a busy job. Naruto snorted. Busy doesn't cut it. A father should be a father. This manga makes it look like a joke, Naruto said with a sly grin spreading across his face. It's funny, isn't it? The brat has no respect. Throwing paint on the Hokage monument? His father must be very proud of him. What's so funny? Yuji asked, plopping down beside them. Naruto's kid in this manga. Naruto waved the book with a dramatic flair. He's a real piece of work. Nobara snatched the book and skimmed a few pages. He's just like you, Naruto. Always causing trouble, she teased, nudging him with her elbow. Naruto feigned shock, placing a hand over his heart. I am hurt. I would never get caught. Yuji finished, winking at Megumi. Megumi raised an eyebrow, intrigued. But you're just a kid. What do you know about being a father, Tenedikyum? Naruto's face turned red, and he stammered for a moment before regaining his composure. I read a lot, and I have strong opinions. The group erupted into laughter, the sound filling the small manga shop. As they continued to discuss the antics of Boruto and his father, Naruto couldn't help but feel a twinge of nostalgia for his past life. He remembered his own days as a brash young ninja, always causing trouble, always striving to prove himself. As the conversation turned to other manga and the adventures within, Naruto found himself reflecting on the lessons he had learned throughout his life, both as Naruto and now as Tenedikyum. He realized that every character, every story, had something to teach. And perhaps, he thought, Boruto wasn't so different from him after all. Maybe, just maybe, he could learn to appreciate the young ninja's journey, to see the humor in his rebellion, and to remember the importance of patience and understanding. With a smile, Naruto closed the manga and placed it back on the shelf. Today, he would not let Boruto's antics annoy him. Today, he would enjoy the company of his friends and the endless possibilities. Yuji agreed and followed Naruto to another section of the shop. Naruto hoped that he had convinced him. He hoped that he had avoided suspicion. He hoped that he had escaped his past. But he knew that he was wrong. He knew that he could not escape his past. He knew that his past was following him. He knew that his past was waiting for him. He knew that his past was his destiny. It was Halloween night in Shibuya, one of the busiest and most colorful districts in Tokyo. Thousands of people, many of them wearing costumes, were enjoying the festive atmosphere, unaware of the danger that lurked beneath the surface. In a hidden location, a group of curse users were preparing to execute their plan. Are you ready? Pseudo-Geto asked, holding the prison realm in his hand. Yes, the curse users said, nodding. Good. Then let's begin. Activate the curtain, Pseudo-Geto ordered. One of the curse users stabbed a nail on the ground, and a dome of purple light enveloped Shibuya. The people inside the dome felt a sudden chill, as if the temperature had dropped. They looked up and saw the sky had turned dark. They heard a loud voice, echoing through the air. Attention, citizens of Shibuya. You are now part of a special experiment. We are testing the limits of human fear and despair. You have two options: stay inside the dome and face the horrors that await you, or try to escape and risk being killed by the guards. Either way, you have no hope of survival. Enjoy the show. The people were shocked and confused. They didn't know what was going on or who was behind this. They tried to call for help, but their phones had no signal. They tried to leave the dome, but they were stopped by a wall of curses. They were trapped, and they were scared. What the hell is this? A man in a vampire costume shouted. Is this some kind of prank? A woman in a fairy costume asked. No, this is real. This is a curse, a boy in a ninja costume said. He had seen some jujitsu sorcerers fighting curses before, and he knew what they looked like. A curse? What do you mean? The woman asked. I mean, we're in danger. There are monsters out there, and they're coming for us. We have to find a way out, the boy said. Monsters? What are you talking about? The man asked. Look, there's one, the boy pointed. They turned and saw a huge creature with horns, claws, and teeth. It was a cursed spirit, and it was hungry. It roared and charged at them. They screamed and ran for their lives. They looked at the dome and saw the chaos that had begun. The curses that they had hidden inside the dome had started to emerge, and they had started to attack the people. The people screamed and ran for their lives. They had no defense and no hope. The Shibuya incident had begun, and it was a nightmare. Naruto was in his room fast asleep when he suddenly felt a humongous cursed energy spike from the north direction. What? He asked, perplexed. Whatever that was, his father said. It was dangerous, very dangerous, stay out of it. I guess. He was just about to close his eyes when he felt a number of very familiar emotions from that direction. The pain of losing your beloved. The fear of death. The fear of darkness. The pain of being crushed alive. Eaten alive. Without thinking any further, he jumped out of his bed and marched towards the main door. Naruto! His mother screamed from inside him. Get back in the house. He stood on an electricity pillar. He needs to teleport. He tried to recall what the old man had taught him. Let me explain how I teleport long distances. It's a part of my limitless curse technique, which allows me to manipulate the space and time around me. I can bend the space between 2 points and create a shortcut or a wormhole.